Yes, yes. You're Wyatt and Samantha's mom, right? I'm sorry. Is it Tanya? Is it Tanya?
No, that was others.
Okay, so you're right. Heaven. I remember mine.
We'd like to call the meeting to order. If you'd stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silent prayer. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If you'll remain standing for a moment of silence. All right. The first item on the agenda is a public hearing, which is Resolution 2019-32 for the creation of the Neighborhood Streetlight Special Assessment District 217. I would like to declare the public hearing open at 7:02. In the work session, Clerk Rowe had approximately 28 letters from residents against the petition. Would you like to read them into the record?
Okay, great. I have one from John Adams.
Your mic's on. Sorry.
Thank you. I have one from John Adams, who lives on Royal Troon, who says that I'm emailing you to voice my opinion on the matter of lighting for Amberley Grove and also the refusal of the current board to allow for a meeting to vote in a new board of directors for the HOA. The current board is not elected and should not have the power to do so. That's one. These I got tonight, so it's taking me a little bit longer. I got to open them up. Number 2 was from Michael Mayren. Doesn't give his, Spyglass Lane. Says that he votes no on the new street lights. He'd say there are already too many. They already have 3 lights in view of my house. There's one on the south entrance to the pond trail near my home, and a second one is not needed near the north end of the trail. There are already 2 on the street where the path ends. Please turn down this request for more street lights. I have one from a Gregory Batten, no, that's not the one I wanted, who lives at Royal Troon, unable to attend the meeting, but concerns for the safety of our neighborhood without the large assessments. One from Alexandria Reed, who says they're a member of the subdivision. This evening, a special assessment will be held for the placement of 3 lights. I'm currently opposed to assessment this time. As you are likely aware, the decision was made without proper notice and input to the community by our neighborhood's board of directors. While I will not be able to attend the meeting in person, this is my current input on the scenario. Please, and it says I could reach them at that address. Stacy Murphy sent one in, her and Nathan. That says they're owners of their home, roughly 2 decades. We plan on attending the meeting. However, in case something comes up, we want our voices included and heard. Our current HOA is adding costly assessments without our knowledge, input, or vote, and is refusing to speak to the homeowners, although we petitioned for a special meeting and far surpassed the required signatures. Until we're able to get answers, we don't want this assessment put through. Please let us know if there's anything we need to do. One from a Karen Smith on Henley. I won't make the upcoming meeting, but I want to notify you of my position. I am not in favor of the streetlight assessment. One from a Carlitha Flournoy, who said, I don't agree with this because I don't have all the facts. Jenny Plesko sent one in saying, I live on Homestead. Please accept this as my official vote to not put up streetlights. I don't think it was brought up for discussion in the correct manner, and it seems to be forced on us, and I don't support it. Kimberly or George Kroslak on Royal Troon says they can go on and rant about what a waste of money that streetlights are, but I'm usually not like that. I'm also upset that they requested them, causing our tax assessments to go up without letting us to have an emergency HOA meeting, even though we got twice as many signatures as needed. I mean, they already stole $125 from us for unnecessary dredging of ponds, and now this. It's complete abuse of power of their position, which, by the way, they aren't legitimately in to begin with. No one voted them in for anything. Daryl Kirby says, I'm contacting you regarding streetlight assessment. I am not for an additional assessment at this time. I don't understand. I understand it's for safety, but since the community was notified at the spare of the moment, I think it's only reasonable to table this until next year. We also have some other board-related costs and issues we're dealing with. I do plan to be at the meeting for further discussion. From Lyra Claire, doesn't have an address, but says I'm just against the streetlights. from my Nikisha Cheney on Spyglass, says, I oppose the special streetlight as I lack sufficient information at this time to understand the need and evidence that they will help with criminal activity. From a Candace Dorsey on Knollwood, just like many neighbors, I care about the safety of the neighborhood. I understand the importance of having an HOA board of directors. However, I'm opposed and not in favor of being assessed additional fees for streetlights. That was brought up by the board of directors is something that the residents are not responsible for. I find the way these assessments came about is appalling. If everything I'm reading is true, it's unfortunate the township was dragged into this battle by rogue board members. I hope the township is able to support the residents' position with understanding what is right and what's wrong. If residents are responsible for paying for these payments, then so be it. If residents are not responsible, assessment should be resolved appropriately. Assessments should be made in good faith, transparency by everyone, including the HOA board members. My name is Craig Maxfield. They live at Amberley Way. I just wanted to voice my opinion that at this time should not be implementing streetlights in the HOA. While I understand the concerns, I don't agree with the process as it's been carried out, and like us to discuss further with our board prior to it being enacted. I look forward to attending the meeting and hope you have a nice week. Thank you. My name is Mark Morrison. I live at Royal Troon. For the public records, opposed to the creation of Special Streetlight Assessment District 217, and for the following reasons: 3 additional streetlights will not add a significant value to the overall common areas. The location of one of the lights will greatly increase the illumination on the sides of 2 residential homes, which will be a nuisance factor to these homes. Having a streetlight near the playground will only encourage its use during nighttime hours and create noise and issues and complaints. The overall expenditure of the initial purchase of $13,059.95 plus the yearly cost to maintain them outweighs any benefit that lights would create. Most importantly, the assessment proposal was initiated by an unethical board of directors. They go on and name who they are, don't represent the majority. There was no HOA notification to the meetings or any meetings to discuss the proposed assessment. The first we heard about it was from the township regarding the public meeting. Had they reached out to the community for majority opinion, force, resources, time of the township officials could have been better allocated to the benefit of the community. And then he gives the definition of being unethical. They have initiated a separate assessment for the retention pond dredging and maintenance of $200 per resident that doesn't fall under the scope of their jurisdiction. They have ignored requests for minutes for meetings, expenditures incurred by the association, even though such information is within the rights of residents and the bylaws. They've ignored a petition signed by 127 residents, the bylaws only require 61 signatures to have a special meeting. It was signed via certified mail, receipt of the petition. Lastly, the bylaws call for a 5-member board. I know some of our board members asked that earlier, yet we only have 2. Mary Ann and Angela are unwilling to allow others on their board. They may have a different point of view, even though others have shown interest. Given these unfortunate circumstances, I can't in good conscience support any additional assessments at this time. Then Kristen Sinkowitz says, I might not be able to make the meeting. For what it's worth, please note I'm not in favor of the street lights or the increase in assessment. And this is from Tyler Melman, saying they're emailing in regards to special assessment. In lieu of being able to attend the meeting, I want to submit my position as against the tax increase. Thank you for your time. Kelly House says she's writing on behalf of the subdivision. They're extremely alarmed at the disregard of the board regarding a special meeting to address the occurrence after receiving more than the necessary votes for a special meeting. It's illegal. I hope this is just an oversight and a meeting will be scheduled without further issue, but if it's not, the board continues to be negligent. It's our legal obligation and responsibility in the neighborhood to hold a special meeting to address concerns. We'll proceed. I truly believe that the special assessment is a necessary warning and keep the hope that there was some misunderstanding regarding the calling of a meeting. I hope a special meeting will be called immediately. I appreciate your leadership, support, and collaboration as we navigate these concerns. Thank you, Karen, and hope to hear from you soon. Hello, I'm reaching out to you regarding the lights. This is from Joyce Turner at Royal Troon. Says that I know of the meeting, however, because of my health, I won't be able to I can't always get out. But I say I'm against the proposal. The association appears to have problems of corruption with mismanagement of funds and have coming up with a number of projects excessive funds. I just want, in case I can't come, I want to let you know that I'm against them. And this is from Susan and Russell Mullen. They're vehemently opposed to special assessment. We are not opposed to safety or unwilling to hear safety concerns. However, we are opposed to special assessment for which no community input or discussion has been solicited or allowed. The first Amberley Grove neighbors heard of this was through the mailing that we received from the township. This is the second special assessment spearheaded by the 2-member non-elected board of directors in a month, all done secretly. without community information approval. Had the township not sent out the notification, the first we would have heard of it was when we received our tax bill. Certainly, that cannot be an appropriate way for the board to garner funds for non-urgent expenditures. We have lived here in Amberley Grove for 19 years. Our only issue when someone ran over the garbage can and drug it down the street. We have a street light in front of our house. Let the residents decide if they want to add street lights, not a secret BOD. From Tamara Mayron, as homeowner at Spyglass Lane, does not support asking for the new street lights. These are pathways that don't need lighting. As it is, there's lights coming in already on two sides of my home, shining in my kitchen, my bedroom, and master bath. We can put those things on them to keep the light from coming in if you want to contact me later on that. Even my daughter's rooms gets, what do they call those, Brenda? Shields. Even my daughter's room gets some light pollution. I don't support it. I would attend the meeting if I were in town, but my husband may attend. And dear Karen, this is from Tim and Katie Buck. They live at Spyglass too. They've been there since 2000. We've been happy with our home and our neighbors, and we enjoy living here very much. I'm so happy. We are quite concerned about our board of directors. However, for quite some time, they've been ignoring the bylaws. We went through several years, hearing nothing despite our attempts to reach them. Just recently, they asked for a special assessment of their residents without consulting us. Our first assessment involved the ponds, which is not under their jurisdiction. The second, however, that we do have some say on it. The board has requested streetlights be installed, 3 of them, one across the street from my house. Not only does this place an undue financial burden, this particular location it's unnecessary. The map has it placed only 15 yards from a streetlight in the easement. Not only that, but the area has a picnic table surrounded by planted trees. It makes no sense to destroy an area intentionally designed and functional. We plan to attend the meeting, but we also want to submit a complaint in writing. We're asking you to disapprove HOA's request. This is from Roberta Nietzsche on Spyglass Lane. They're going to attend the meeting to address the above-mentioned subject, but they wanted to send a message informing you of the lack of information regarding the situation that has been shared with the Amberley Grove homeowners. I happen to live directly adjacent to one of the lights that I am not in favor of having installed. This will shine directly in my home. While there are many people who walk the path of my home, I live on the retention pond. There's absolutely no need for the light. This isn't an area of congregation, it's just a path to be walked, biked, or run along. I'm truly dismayed over the lack of transparency with the HOA, and this is the second assessment we've received in 6 weeks, and only 2 of our residents had the opportunity to discuss. The lack of transparency and audacity to try and make these changes without community input is outrageous. I'm ready to let you know this is a request by 2 people out of the 183 homes. That doesn't make a majority by any means. While the cost is minimal, is the fact that the majority of homeowners have not had input. I hope to see you next Tuesday. This is from Elizabeth Woods, who lives at Royal Troon, who says, I'm a preschool teacher at Lincoln Schools. We've met throughout the years. It's been a while. Well, we won't go into that. about the people that we each know. Anyways, the reason for this small is the streetlight assessment. I've lived in this sub since it was built. My children grew up here, and we've always appreciated our HOA boards for keeping it a nice place for them to play and grow up. And more recent, however, I'm not sure the monies collected are going towards things that are needed in our neighborhood. We just don't understand what good the lights will do when the pathways are a hazard. I use the pathways daily to walk my dog, and they are in need of repair. We also have beautiful new signs while the grass in our common areas is rarely mowed before it gets very high. We have received 2 assessments, having no warning of them. Shouldn't we get a vote to say where our money goes? We are always made aware of changes by the past boards. We're planning on attending this meeting. Hope that most of our neighbors do too. Thank you for consideration. And then from Donella Grissom is emailing saying that against the increase in taxes for lighting. One, there's never been any communication about it, and the lights we have are not maintained in the last year. So, yeah, and you need to call those into my office if the lights aren't working, because we'll contact DTE. The light we have is not maintained, and so adding more doesn't seem necessary. I don't want to pay more taxes when we're not keeping up with what we have. Jeffrey Schultz says that he's planning on attending the meeting, but he wanted to put it in writing. He's posted this assessment. The primary reason is the board made no attempt to reach out to the community before seeking assessment. It's a pattern that can't continue. In addition, I live across the street from the playground where one of the lights will be placed. I'm afraid the addition of the lighting will increase activity and noise into the night, and currently, once it becomes dark, the playground is quiet. I would like to keep it that way. Thank you for your feedback. And then there was one actually in favor of it from a Patricia Costa saying, please allow the streetlight assessment for the communities to be conducted. That's all I have.
Thank you, Clerk Rowe. At this time, any resident of the affected district, if they would like to speak for or against the petition, now is the time to do it. Give your name and your address for the record. And the person who types the minutes, they actually are not in the room with us, so if you could speak into the microphone, that would be great.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Kimberly Samuelson. I live at 7394 Spyglass Lane. I first wanted to say thank you for the hearing notice on the creation of Streetlight Special Assessment 217 Amberley Grove Subdivision Number 2, and for offering an opportunity for us to voice our concerns. I cannot read as fast as Karen, but I'll do my best. I asked you to bear with me for a few minutes as I share the following information, which I believe is germane to the proposal on the table and also very important in understanding how we got here. I have lived in Amberley Grove for over 19 years. During that time, our HOA board has experienced an established pattern of cohesion, collaboration, and 100% effort to represent the best interests of our community. The board in place prior to the last 15 months followed the bylaws and governed accordingly. Unfortunately, what we have experienced over the last several months is stunning and a complete travesty. It certainly flies in the face of any democratic process. Due to our inability to establish a quorum at the annual homeowners meeting, the current board is comprised of 2 self-appointed members. It is true that as a homeowners group, we have been complacent when it comes to meeting attendance. However, that does not mean that we forego our right for representation as a whole. In fact, it is important to note that prior to finding out about the potential streetlight assessment, a group of concerned neighbors submitted a petition with the requisite number of signatures to call a special meeting per our bylaws. The special meeting's purpose is to remove the current board and seat an elected board of directors per the processes and protocols in place. That petition has gone unanswered to date. Moving forward, there was no transparency or discussion regarding a recent $125 special assessment to cover a pond dredging issue for which we have an agreement in place with the Washtenaw County Drain Commission. It is their responsibility to maintain the functionality of our ponds, not the homeowners, and we are assessed accordingly via our taxes. However, the current board did not research or question. They simply set an arbitrary assessment in motion to be paid within 30 days by the titled homeowners. This was followed up with a proposed streetlight assessment for our common areas. As homeowners, we only found out about the streetlight assessment because of the hearing notice that was mailed out to us by you, Ypsilanti Township. Thank you for that, by the way. Again, I share all of this with you to show an established pattern of decision-making that does not include communication or transparency with the community this HOA board allegedly represents. Not only do I unequivocally oppose this streetlight assessment, I want you to know that one of those poles would be located right next to my house, shining on our patio and backyard. The area in question has a streetlight at the beginning and the end of the path on the regular street. This is true of the second location as well. Further, I do not believe there have been any police reports of vandalism or mischief in the proposed locations, and given that we live right next door to one location, we have witnessed no evidence of dangerous and/or unsafe situations. For clarification, this is not a gathering place. It is simply a short path connecting 2 areas. Additionally, there's a 10 p.m. township curfew in place for those under 18 years old. Therefore, the premise that we need the proposed streetlights due to safety and security is both false and without merit. I believe that before approving HOA assessments, the township makes an assumption that there is HOA consensus, and I assure you that in this case, there is no consensus. In fact, based on discussion with my neighbors, quite the opposite is true. I also believe that this assessment is contrary to the spirit of your special assessment process. Please support our Amberley Grove community and vote no on this assessment. By voting no, you afford us the democratic voice we have been denied by our HOA board. And secondly, I just saw on your agenda, under new business, if I may, information gathering on a potential YMCA site, and I think that's great for Ypsilanti Township, so thanks for considering that.
Thank you for your comment. Other comment?
Wow. That was amazing. Len Frankovic, 7271 Spyglass. Just wanted to, that was pretty much everything that I wanted to say. So the only thing that I really wanted to say on top of that was that being a board, a homeowners association, having a minimum amount of people that should be a good proportion of whatever the, total amount of people that they're representing. So that alone should warrant you to just, any future until we get the right amount of people on there, just disregard it as noise. Only because
Yes, sir.
if you think about it, right? All right, we're giving these people money, we're trusting them with our money, and then all of this stuff from out of nowhere comes out, and then no transparency, meaning like all we're asking for is like, hey, what's been going on? They won't say. So anyway, that's all I got to say.
Thank you. Could you just spell your last name for the record?
Yeah, sure. FRANKOWIAK.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Other comments?
No, that's it.
No. There's a gentleman back. Okay.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Carl Demerit, 7226 Spyglass Lane. I look around and I see a lot of my neighbors and what have you, so good to see you here. I'm a little confused. I want to know how much it's going to cost me, first of all. Nobody ever told me that. $125, she says, per year.
$11.08
$11.08 a year.
per parcel per year is what's proposed, but we're hearing input.
So it's good, if it passes the way it is, it'll be $11 a year for 10 years.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And how many streetlights will be put up?
3.
3. Oh, I don't know. It doesn't seem proportional. Okay. Thank you for answering those questions.
Thank you.
The cost, to me, is minimal if it really helps something. But I don't know enough information about that.
So you're not for or against, you just don't have enough information?
There's another lady I know.
He should have read the paper I gave him. Elizabeth D. Merritt, 7226 Spyglass Lane. And recently we have attended whatever meetings there were. A couple years ago we attended one in this room. Maybe there were 20 people, but about last fall, I attended one in the board meeting over there, at which time they talked about how much money, I can't remember how much, but that they had lots of money. But then the next meeting in April, I believe, it was during Holy Week, and it was on Monday, Thursday. I heard only 4 people went, but for us and a lot of church people, Monday, Thursday is a special day that we couldn't go. But we live across the street from the playground. Sometimes there's 20 kids there in the daytime. But we have a street light in front of our house already. We don't want to see one at the playground. Like my daughter said, it's going to bring more teenagers. It could bring drug deals. And let's see. Well, so we just don't feel that it's needed there. And we don't like the way at our age, we're retired, we're struggling kind of with money right now. So an extra $125 or even this 11 something is not very helpful to us. Oh, the other thing was, some of our neighbors are threatening to move, and I've been seeing more for sale signs going up in our subdivision. So I think we really need to solve this problem, because I think people like living in Ypsilanti Township, but I don't think I've read hundreds of things on the neighbors' sites of people putting other people down. And I think we need to resolve all of this somehow.
Okay, thank you for your comments. Are there other comments?
This thing is way taller than me. Okay. I'm Angela Rawls, and I'm the vice president of this mean old board. And I worked with Karen for the streetlights. And if I would have known that so many people would have been so opposed to the added additional safety, and it was more thinking about the children during the holidays, and more specifically Halloween, when we have, I believe last year we had over 1,100 children who came and trick-or-treated in our neighborhood, and just adding safety for kids. And I have a little one, and just wanting and going on nightly walks and things like that, where there's so many dead areas of light in those areas that we proposed, those 3. But hearing that so many people are so upset, and that this is causing such a financial hardship, I believe that the street lights should be tabled to another time. Far as the $125 assessment, this meeting is not here to address. I really just have to say there's a $75 late fee that's been increased, so they should just pay it. So, yeah.
Wait a minute.
So,
Hold on. No.
so
Let's stick to this issue.
yeah, we just want to stick to the issue of streetlights, and for the streetlights, because there's so much issues. I want to thank you, Karen, for the time you put in, and I apologize. Yeah, so that's my take.
Ms. Ross, would you help schedule a meeting with the with your HOA group?
So right now,
No, I'm just asking, would you please consider scheduling a meeting
yes, we
with the
are
team?
actually considering, we're meeting with lawyers now, and it is something that we are discussing. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comment?
Why does it have to go through lawyers for a meeting?
Not here. Okay.
First of all, thanks for listening to everyone. And my name is Daryl Kirby. I'm at 7340 Homestead Road. I think the lighting, there are some people that have some major concerns about it because they're directly affected by it. But I think the whole situation overall, even the people that don't live by the lighting, is the lack of communication, the lack of dealing with the homeowners association, which is the membership, it's just not the board, to have input into what's going on. After all, it's only, to some people, $75 a quarter, but to some people that's a heavy cost because of their income and so forth. So point is that it may not be a lot of money. It may be $150 a year, but you times that by so many years. Some residents have been living here. It's a lot of money. So we should have some input into what's going on. It's a democracy. It's not a dictatorship. We're part of the board. We're part of the homeowners association. So we should have an input. And I think that's the overall issue. I think it's a lack of input, a lack of respect for the residents of the community. We are the homeowners association, okay? So I just want to put that out there, that it's not everyone just trying to beat down the board or everyone not wanting to pay this $11 a year, which is pretty much nothing. I think there's an overall more of an issue going on here. It's the lack of communication, lack of respect, and thinking that we should adhere to whatever is done irregardless, and that's the way it should be, and that's not the way it should be.
Thank you, sir.
Hi, my name is Donnie Burton. I live at 7068 Amberley Way. I've been there almost 15 years. I think we're all kind of mixing up lots of different things tonight. We're actually here to talk about the lights, street lights, which is $11.08 on our taxes a year for the next 10 years.
So
and
could you address your comments to me, please?
don't think anyone, I'm sorry?
Address the comments to the board.
Sorry.
Thank you.
And so I think we're kind of mixing things up here. We definitely have some issues in our homeowners association. I think there's a group that's addressing that at this time. But I just want to say that I don't think anyone has an issue with the safety issues, nor the children that she mentioned. But I think it's the way it's been brought about, and that we should table this issue at this time and perhaps bring it up in the future.
Thank you, sir. And what's your last name?
Burton, B-U-R-T-O-N.
Thank you.
Burton. First name.
Donnie.
Thank you.
Ma'am, or miss?
Nicole Hadley, 7319 Spyglass. I lived in the association for about a year, and there's been virtually no communication. I think the problem is the lack of transparency. I serve on a board for my school, and we're transparent in our operations, and there's no communication at all. I have streetlights outside my house that shine into my house during the night. Sometimes I think my lights are on. So to have extra lights, I don't think it's necessary at this time.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Pam Russell. I live at 7466 Spyglass Lane, and the area that they're talking about is directly behind my house.
Okay.
A majority of the path is right there, and at night, after it gets dark, it is dark back there. And I'm out in my backyard several nights, and there are a lot of people that use that path. And so these lights, my neighbor has spent his own money to put lights out so that it lights up the path even better, because literally you cannot see. And the concern is what if something happens and a child, granted they should not be out that late, but what if you have a kid that is running on that path, and because it is so dark, something happens and he falls into that pond? Is he going to be able to get himself out? It's 3 foot of muck. It's a safety issue. It's a huge safety issue. I say put it in. And again, I'd like to say this meeting is just about the lights. It's not about the HOA. It's not about anything else. It's just the lights.
So you're in support?
Yes. And yes, they will shine in my house too. But as I was led to believe that these are special lights that shine on the path and not light up the whole neighborhood, not like a street light. That's what I was led to believe. If that is true, I don't know.
They're just like the lights in your neighborhood.
They're the same as the actual
And
lights?
you can put shields on them.
So isn't there something that where they can just shine?
They could put shields on the sides.
Right, and what would be wrong with that? I mean, so that they shine down on the path and not bother anybody's houses? I mean, go buy some curtains. It's $11 a year. And I can't believe people are going to complain about $11 a year when they'll spend $700 one time a year for fireworks. I mean, our neighborhood's known for fireworks. This is a safety issue for kids.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Other comments, sir?
Hi, I sent an email earlier. My name's John Adams. I live at 7162 Royal Troon Drive. I agree $11 a year is not very much money. It was just sprung on us, though. That has to stop. I've lived at this residence for almost 20 years. It's never happened before. I don't want it to continue to happen. So, yeah, they should not only table the decision, but before any of these type of decisions are made, the HOA needs to get its act together before anything happens going forward. So I respect that you guys sent this out to us, and we need some changes. So they're talking about lawyers. Why? We got enough people here to actually have a quorum right now and make a decision. I don't see why we can't just do it now.
No, you can't do it here, right? Go in the hallway or outside. Any other comments?
Roberta Neatson, 7430 Spyglass Lane. I've lived in Amberley Grove for 19 years. I served on the board. I did my community service. I am not ignorant of the bylaws, Pamela. I know the bylaws. I also know that when I was on the board, we had transparency. What we did was, when we did things, we made improvements. We had a surplus in our accounts. We held monthly meetings. We had our board meeting, and when this streetlight assessment came by that we heard from you, thank goodness the township was involved, or we would have known nothing about it. I am not against safety. Safety is the way I live my life. Hence, and to this bad accident that happened. However, this isn't a safety issue. The paths are for enjoyment, absolutely. You have a sidewalk to walk on if you want to walk on after hours. There are street lights out there, and if not, take a flashlight. There has never been a child that has fallen. We have never had any lawsuits that have been filed for someone being hurt on the paths. It would be good to understand, outside of one person who wants this on that path, or two, why that had even come up as a suggestion. And for none of us, you could have dropped off, and we have dropped off flyers to let people know about this meeting. You could have talked to us, even if those people didn't come to the regular meetings. The information could have been gotten out. Transparency could have been had, and a democratic process could have been followed. That's what needs to be done. I am vehemently opposed to these lights. I am absolutely for safety.
Thank you. Are there any other comments? She said it.
Hi there. My name is Mary Ann Basilico, Basilico, and I am the HOA president. And so I am being transparent with all of you right now. You are all more than welcome to come to my house. You have all known where I've lived because my neighbor
Could you address
lives.
your comments to us, please?
I will, but they all have known where I've lived, and they said that I haven't been transparent, so okay. I think we should table it, absolutely. So I'm going to take full responsibility for,
If you could just.
I'm addressing you too. I'm going to take full responsibility, letting them know that between Angela and I, we thought it was a safety issue. We wanted that to go through. Now, I failed at the point of having more than one vote for this coming to a meeting. However, I had a meeting last year and I had a meeting this year, and we only had 4 people come. Where we have all these other people right now banding for no additional lights, perfectly fine. Let's table it, vote it down, no, right now, okay?
So your vote is no.
The vote is no, N-O, and we are not going to put it in because we didn't follow the proper procedure by letting all the other homeowners know that that's the route that we wanted to take. Unfortunately, we were trying to keep it in a better interest of that. Sorry, I'm learning.
Okay.
It's only my first full year doing this by myself. So, thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Other comments or?
Hello, my name is Craig Maxfield. I live at 7073 Amberley Way. I did send in an email as well, so this is kind of a duplicate. I am not opposed to the safety. I can understand that there are safety considerations. However, I do not agree with the way that this was proposed. This was brought forth to the Ypsilanti Township government. There was zero discussion previous to within the HOA as a whole. And I just wanted to mention that I'm amused that our president is up here talking about how there was a meeting in April and 4 people came. When people at that board meeting, were at the meeting in April, I'm one of the 4 that showed up, and we were turned down to join the board, of which we're supposed to have 5 members, and we currently have 2. So it just shows that our board is not really taking any consideration whatsoever from the residents, and I think that's why we're here today. Okay. So I hope you can take this all into consideration.
Absolutely. Thank you. Any other comment?
Hi, my name is Mark Morrison. I live on rural Troon Drive. You guys have already read my email, but as the president had spoke about being transparent, and they are transparent, I have a stack of emails here that I have sent to our board, our current board, that have gone unanswered. So I have the record right there. This whole process started for us as a petition on a separate assessment that this meeting is not about. I was part of that group to start a drive to call a petition to put us 2 separate petitions, actually, one against the assessment, one to call for a special meeting, so the homeowners could be represented. I'm not normally one to want to get up in public, go door to door, but this actually made me get involved. I've lived in our community for 19 years. I'm the original owner of our home. It was absolutely blew me away. What even started this process was me to just simply reach out to our board to ask some basic questions about assessment that was being imposed on us. Because I got no answer, and when I finally did get an answer, it was one of the most nastiest responses I've ever gotten in my life. It caused me to reach out to other members of our community and find out that so many other people in our community had this same thing. So for our board to say that they are transparent and they went through this process as being a transparent is just completely untrue. So for the record, I am against the assessment. You've read my record. I appreciate your time. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
So my husband already spoke. I'm Tabitha Frankowiak at 7271 Spyglass Lane. The one thing I wanted to mention, I noticed the board and the people that were for it already left, but there were several people that were like, oh, it's only $11 a year. And I think that what they don't realize is it's not just $11 a year. We've lived there since 2005, and as values dropped, our property taxes dropped. And as values have gone back up, our taxes have gone back up. So you have that increase on top of other things that happen in the community that cause our taxes to increase. So you might be talking $11 plus $10 plus $25. It all adds up. And when you have senior citizens who live in your community, and I don't know about anybody else, but our income is way different than what it was when we first moved in. The economy has changed, our jobs have changed. And so for some people, $11 might not be a lot, but for some of us, it makes a big difference.
Thank you for your
My vote is no on the lights.
Does that conclude public comment? Yeah. I'm going to close the go ahead.
My name is Carrie Wilson. I'm on Royal Troon. I think regardless of how it was addressed to us and or the cost, I think there's more than enough evidence here tonight to support, to not even table the issue, just to vote it no and get it done and over with. That way we can move on from this and then deal with the other issue that we are having with our association. I, for one, have senior citizen parents who live with me because of, reasons on their own. So to impose more money on us homeowners, it's very hard. I'm already having to help support my parents. So I just want to state for the record that my answer is no.
Thank you very much. Does that conclude public comment? It's 7:43, and we're going to close the public hearing. Trustees? Trustee Elder, did you ask to talk, or do you want to do the resolution first?
Go ahead, you can do the resolution.
The resolution I have is 2019-32 to create the Streetlight Special Assessment District number 217 Amberley Grove subdivision. Whereas the Homeowners Association for Amberley Grove requested the installation of 3 streetlights, it's being requested of the Board of Trustees for the creation and establishment of Special Assessment District number 217 for the purpose of defraying said cost of the street lighting by special assessments against the properties specially benefited. Whereas the Township Clerk requested Detroit Edison to propose plans describing the streetlight improvements and the location of the improvements with an estimate of the said cost. And on June 2nd, 2019, Brandon Farron of the Detroit Edison Community Lighting Group prepared and submitted proposed plans to install street lighting for Amberley Grove, Ypsilanti Township, consisting of 182 parcels, which said plans included inter alia the installation of 3 stock 11-foot by 6-inch fluted black fiberglass posts on concrete foundations and 3 39-watt LED stock basic Granville luminaries, with the cost of the said improvements being approximately construction costs $15,190.79, charged for 3 years, $2,130.84, contribution, which is minus the 3 years of revenue, is $13,059.95, and the annual lamp charge is $11.08. Whereas on June 6, 2019, the Township Clerk received notification from the Township Assessor that the cost of providing the streetlights for Amberley Grove subdivision, Ypsilanti Township, consisting of 182 parcels, with said plans including the 3 stock 11 feet by 6-inch fluted black fiberglass posts on concrete foundation and the 3 39-watt LED stock basic Granville luminaries, will be $11.08 per parcel for 10 years, and thereafter the cost will be estimated at $3.90 per parcel for street lighting, reflective of the current rates set by TTE as well as the current electrical usage for the year. And whereas the township clerk has given notice to each record or party in interest of property to be assessed by first-class mail addressed to the record owner of party interest at the address shown on the tax records at least 10 days before the July 16th public hearing, setting forth the district effective in said petition, place and purpose of this said public hearing to allow any interested person an opportunity to voice any objection which may be offered against creating the district. And whereas the clerk has also published in the newspaper general circulation the time, place, and purpose of the said public hearing and the district affected. And whereas on July 16th, 2016, the Charter Township of Ypsilanti held a public hearing to hear any objections which may be offered against creating the said special assessment district. Now therefore be resolved that Special Assessment District number 217, number 217, not be created for the purpose of providing these 3 street lights consisting of 82 parcels. And be it further resolved that the Township Board accepts the plans and estimated costs consisting of them, which plans inter alia the installation of 3 stock 11/6 fluted black fiberglass posts on concrete foundations with 3 39-watt LED lights for the cost of $11.08 per year. The cost after that, $3.90 for a year, and that the supervisor is not going to make a special assessment, and the Township Board will not determine before September 30th the amount to be assessed, and be it resolved that the Special Assessment District will not be created for the Amberley Groves. I would so move the resolution to not create a Special Assessment District for the 3 lights for the street light specials for Amberley Grove subdivision number 2.
Support. Motion Lovejoy Rowe, support Trustee Eldridge to not approve the special assessment district. Trustee Eldridge, did you want to comment?
Just briefly, just for the benefit of the people here, as the board's already heard this, while we certainly can't deal with your issues, and I do have empathy for you, I live next door in Mill Point. I've been there 26 years, so if our homeowners association can assist you anyways, please stop by. I'm not hard to find. We have a very active group and a very participatory group. So my concern in this, as I voiced to our board earlier, was how this petition ever got to us in the first place when it was only brought by 2 people who were not democratically elected by their neighborhood, their residents. So I would ask in other business later this evening that we as a board, we as a township, put into our processes that from this day forward or from this vote forward, should it pass, we would not consider an assessment district, whether it be for streetlights, video cameras, sidewalks, or anything else that will place an assessment financially on a homeowner unless it comes to us with at least 50% plus 1 parcel owner in support of that request. Anything less than that should never have reached us in the first place. So.
Other comments from board members?
Madam Chair, I just briefly wanted to say thank you all so much for coming out and expressing your opinions. While the emails are really helpful, it's always nice to have your faces here and hear your side of the story in person, so thank you.
Trustee Ross Williams?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Again, thank you for coming. Don't want to get into the nuances of the HOA, but the question that I did ask in open session was if the board consisted of all members. And so I have learned that it has not. So I think that's very important in regards to the way that the clerk has read to not vote for the assessment, because I believe that boards, especially HOAs, should have all members. So.
Other comments?
Madam Chair.
Trustee Wilson?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, I work at the Ford Rossonville plant, UAW. I'm a trustee for the UAW as well. And I just want to say, keep your unity and solidarity as you have today, as you deal with your HOA board. And I hope that it works out moving forward, that you can get things in order. You may even want to contact your managing company to try to maybe. Okay, never mind. Just stay united. Have that solidarity that you have today, and good luck as we move forward. and I'll be voting in favor of denying this special assessment.
Clerk Rowe.
I just wanted to say it's just really unfortunate. We did follow our traditional process, which is either one, to do a petition, I think I've explained it to several, or the homeowners association to vote, which we assume, obviously wrong, that that was actually something that was supported. So, but we did talk in our work session. I think most of the board members agree that just to throw that process out and just go with straight petition, and we don't ever have to worry about whether that happens. So I am really grateful for all the emails that came in and for y'all coming out, because it really is what democracy is about, and you guys are a perfect example of doing that, and it's been a pleasure. Everybody's been really respectful and stuff, I think, in the emails and stuff, and so good luck to you, and God bless you. I'll be praying for y'all.
And I just want to say that I also appreciate all the input. That's what a public hearing is for, is to get input from residents and taxpayers especially. I was clerk for 16 years, and we did the petition process historically. That's how we've done it. Cameras was something new, and we did it a little bit different that way. But I think that when you're putting a tax upon the people, that you should have 51% and do it like we've done it in the past. And I agree, this was a little bit different, but I do think it's good that everyone got to come out and agree that you need to do more and move forward as an association. I know a lot of y'all people, and I've seen you around, and it's a great community, Amberley Grove is. So keep doing what you're doing, and thank you very much for coming out. So we have a motion and support to deny the creation. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. At this time, we have public comments on other items. You can talk about what's on the agenda, or you can also speak about any other issues you'd like to address the board with. If you'd give your name and address for the record, that would be helpful. Public comment.
My name is Arloa Kaiser. I live at 1421 Melvin Street, and my concern is it's number 6 on the thing to request authorization for the township legal counsel, engineers, and departments to assist in gathering information about the YMCA farm. And I am opposed to that. Basically, the township wants to give $4 million in property to the YMCA, and yet the township wants to pay for our attorney fees, and I know Doug's not cheap. And, but for other departments, how much time are they going to spend on this? You hear from the people how busy they are. You have all these things that they're doing. According to what you're trying to sell me is that the YMCA is doing this on their own, but they want us to give them the property. So what happens if they default? Are we going to end up paying for that dead property? Will it come back to us, or does it really go to them, and then would they have to pay property taxes? There's too many things here, and I am opposed to, if they want to come to our community, let them pay for figuring out the feasibility study, to pay their part, that all the township does is give them the property, that we don't help them with anything, no upkeep. If they default, are we going to have to do like with the school business, that basically our taxes would go to tear down the facility or whatever?
It's more like the library, probably.
Well, whatever. Whatever happens to that property, I'm not concerned just about today. I'm concerned about down the road. And, I might be dead by then, but I don't want to see the young people paying for that property, the YMCA.
Okay,
And
thank
it's
you.
like they're trying to give us a golden egg, and they're going to put the screws to us, and I'm opposed to that.
Is that an Amber Alert? What's going on?
Flood warning.
Holy cow, Batman. Okay, thank you, Ms. Kaiser. Yes.
Thank you. Kim Samuelson, 7394 Spyglass Lane. Again, I apologize. My comment earlier belongs here. I just wanted to say, I think it's definitely worth it for the township to investigate this. As I read it, it looks like it's information gathering for the potential for the YMCA. I think that it could be really great for this community. I think it's certainly worthy of looking into. I know the people in my community, you just saw them, they're very supportive, have always been, and I think it's certainly something that enhances the quality of life for the residents of Ypsilanti Township. So thank you for considering it.
Thank you. Other comments? Public comment?
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Katie McCoy. I live at 7001 Amberley Way, right on the corner of Amberley Way and Merritt Road. I have concerns regarding the pine trees, the evergreen trees that are along the side there. I don't know if our homeowners association is responsible for trimming them or cutting them, or if the township is responsible. But the evergreen trees are growing into my backyard. They're growing into my fence. And I did contact the homeowners association last year, but I never heard back from them. And so I would like to know who's responsible for trimming the evergreens that are right there on where the sidewalk entrance is and right along Merritt Road.
And it's in the homeowners association area? Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And it would be the homeowners association. It's not the responsibility of local government, or if it was a road commission, if it was in the road right-of-way and they have a dead tree, we can call the road commission. But if it's on the HOA property within, then...
Okay, it's along the sidewalk?
Right.
On the side there?
Yeah, so from the back of the sidewalk forward is a road commission. And
okay.
If you go the back of sidewalk backwards, then that's the HOA.
Okay, so it's the home association then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
I'm sorry. Any other comments or questions? Okay, we'll go on to the agenda. We have the consent agenda for the minutes of June 18th, 2019 work session and regular meeting, as well as the July 2nd work session and regular meeting. We have statements and checks and the June 2019 treasurer's report.
Move to approve.
Motion Rowe, support Doe. Is that all right?
That's fine.
Okay. Discussion or comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Winters, do you have any general legal update?
Not unless any board member has any questions about any of the letters that have been going back and forth on different issues. Other than my letters, I'm open for any questions.
The Elks.
If status on what happened today in court?
Well, I actually, there's a very, very detailed order that was entered today with Judge Connors. I know Mike attended the court hearing. I'm sorry? So did you? Okay. I wasn't there. Denny and Mike and yourself, and I think Lieutenant Morocco was there. Bill Elling, okay. Anybody else?
Just the other side.
Anyways, there was an incident that actually happened there last Saturday night that was videotaped through the body cameras of the officers. There was a call out for every available police car within 20 miles because of what was occurring in the parking lot with disorderly conduct, with behavior, fights, etc. There were shots fired nearby on one of the side streets about the same time it was going on. There was a police chase of some individuals who later got arrested, I believe. This was a continuation of some of the issues that have been going on for about 8 years. And so today there was a very detailed order that was prepared in which there will be no special events held at the Elks Club. until such time, or for a minimum of 9 months, the parking lot has to be brought into repair in accordance with the township ordinances, paving, striping, there's drain issues. The club can be used for members-only meetings during that time period. There will be requirements that will require any special events in the future to have security guards, 2 security guards. There's also going to be a requirement that a member of the Elks be present at those special events if they ever resume. The issue of parking is, as you have seen at different times, is totally out of control in terms of neighboring businesses being utilized for overflow parking. They can no longer be allowed. There is a provision that allows for the Elks to maybe lease an adjacent property. We would have to review that to accommodate the maximum number of cars that would be allowed to be commensurate with their occupancy of the building. But in terms of the off-street parking that's been going on for some time, that can no longer occur. If the security guards see people coming to a special event from any place other than the parking lot behind the Elks, if it's eventually improved, or any one lot that's leased for that overflow parking, they will not be allowed to enter per the court order. So there's a lot more detail to the order that has been prepared by Attorney McLean, who's been spending a great deal of time in preparation for this hearing. I know that Director Radzik has also been very involved in the preparation of the witnesses for the court hearing. And the township officials have seen the videos. We saw the video of the one that is still part of an active investigation where someone fired at a vehicle 2 years ago. It's still an active investigation, and the person was wounded, as you recall from the papers. And how other people nearby were not killed is beyond me after seeing the videos. And so, unless Mike has anything else to add to the general summary of the court order, I believe the next step would be for the Elks to address all the issues that we identified during the court hearing, starting with the parking, and to see if there's going to be a change in circumstances. It has been declared a public nuisance, and there's going to be some parameters and guidelines going forward that we expect all parties to adhere to. And again, I believe it's taken a lot of time to have 20 police cars respond from Canton Township, Van Buren Township, City of Ann Arbor, Pittsfield Township, City of Ypsi, all of Washtenaw County units from Superior Township around the county. There were no other calls being responded to that night because of 20 police cars having to respond to what was going on over there in the parking lot. I'm just really grateful, personally, after seeing the video, that nothing spiraled out of control beyond what did happen in the parking lot with some fighting, because it could have gone a different direction. I think the Washtenaw County Sheriff's Department command staff exercised a tremendous amount of professional judgment, professional discretion and discernment, and I think after seeing the video that we can all feel very comfortable that in terms of situations that can sometimes go bad very quickly. I mean, I know Stan's been a police officer, Mike's been a police officer. You know how things can sometimes escalate very, very quickly. They did everything, I believe, to de-escalate that situation. And I think now moving forward, we at least have a pathway that's going to either bring the property into compliance, or if not, then we'll go back before Judge Connors. So, Mike, is there anything else I need to add to that, or did you feel was left out? Because I wasn't there, as Brenda pointed out. Okay.
comment?
I just have a couple of questions, Doug, after hearing all of that. I'm glad it's a nuisance abatement status now, but why wouldn't we request that it's shut down entirely, that no activity can take place until those parking lot remedies are put in place? We talk about meetings for members. Is there a specific time when they can meet? Can they hold those meetings at 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning? When I hear that we've had multiple incidents where gunshots were fired, where people have been hit with gunfire, why wouldn't we push and press to shut down all activity there until we get compliance, especially after 8 years? At what point do we say enough is enough?
I think the special events was what was causing the problems, and right now those are not going to be held. I think the members, right now, the way I understand it right now, the men will meet twice during that, or will be allowed to meet twice a month. There's also a women's group that can meet twice a month, and then there's one meeting that can be held in which both men and women can have a meeting. I think the Elks themselves need to do some internal soul searching as to what their mission statement is going to be going forward. I don't believe the problems that the township has responded to occurred during any of the meetings held by the Elks members themselves. It was a special events. I mean, this was what was worked out with everybody involved at the court hearing. I believe right now that notice has been properly given. I think the resolution right now will be just that until we see what happens. But I think it's a very, very tight order in regards to how things are going to be viewed by the court in the future. And it remains to be seen whether or not, we won't know if the court would have actually prevented them from having those kind of meetings because it's still a private club. I don't know, there may be other issues that will come up in the days ahead that will require us to go back to court. If there is, we won't hesitate to do so. But right now, I think after all the time period that we've been going through, this is actually, an order that's been entered or will be entered by the court, and which will put everything into context. I see Mike walking down here, so he might have some more comments to add to what.
If I could just ask a quick question before Mike goes. If we get to the end of the 9-month order, you said 9 months?
For special events.
If we get to the end of that and there's no progress made on any of the remedies, such as the parking lot, what do we do at that point?
I think we'll go back to court and we'll continue to extend it because you cannot use that parking lot for special events. Mike?
So, and before Mike speaks, I was present, and Judge Connors, he was very thankful that there was an agreement reached versus, your way or their way, and he believes in he has a certain process that he believes in as far as a judge, but he really went overboard in thanking both parties for having this agreement. The agreement, and Stan, my reaction was the same as yours, but they had already been discussing it prior, and basically they can't use it for what they're currently using it for until they improve the parking lot. And for 9 months, they can't have any special events, period.
I would, if I may be able to clarify, my understanding of the agreement, and I did review a draft that Mr. McLean prepared this afternoon, is that they're effectively shut down with no special events. There is no time limit on that period until all the parking lot issues have been resolved, which means physical maintenance and compliance with the zoning code for the number of spaces required for their occupant load. If and when they achieve that milestone and are able to open for special events, there's a 9-month trial period where those special events must end and the place must be emptied no later than midnight. And at that point, after 9 months of successfully being able to do that without incident, they can come back and request consideration to be able to have those events beyond midnight. And I believe that is what the agreement is. So effectively, nothing's going to occur there other than their occasional monthly business meetings of the actual members, which I believe amount to 30 individuals.
Yeah, 30 members.
And we did clarify on the record that those were business meetings, not social gatherings per se, and those will be monitored. So under the circumstances, there was no guarantee if we did ask for it to be completely shut down that the judge would grant that relief. There probably was not legal justification to be able to go that far. But I think the relief that was granted, that we reached the consent agreement with them, is very appropriate. It ceases the activity that's been a problem for the community. It gives them an opportunity to attempt to bring the place up to code. And then if they're able to achieve that, it gives them an opportunity to try to do it the right way. So the ball is really in their court, and we'll see what happens. There are a lot of other issues that I think you may have alluded to. They're still seriously delinquent on their property taxes, and they're probably facing forfeiture or foreclosure in less than a year. I was told this morning that there's still unresolved fire code issues with the fire marshal on the inside of the place that came up during the last liquor inspection earlier this year in the spring. And if those are not resolved, we may be in a position to rightfully file a objection to the renewal of their liquor license when it comes up for renewal next winter and spring. But so there's a lot of variables and there's a lot of unknowns, but I do think that this is a very good resolution at this particular place and time for the benefit of the community.
And, I'm sorry, go ahead. Go ahead, Monica.
Madam Chair, thank you, and thank you for the additional detail. I do appreciate it. I know I was one of the board members that voted against NOV. With the additional detail that you have presented, and also Attorney Winters, I personally think that this is the right solution, especially considering even if the things that are noted, parking lot, et cetera, is done, they would still have to meet criteria for 9 additional months. And if I have it correct, if it is allowed, right? So correct. I personally feel comfortable with what you just presented, what Attorney Winters presented, and I'm glad that this came to this resolution.
Part of the order also requires them to notify our sheriff department if they have a special event and who they're having a special event with. They're supposed to have security guards on, and as well as a presence of the Elks members. But this is only after they get the parking lot improvements completed and the lighting and the drainage fixed and everything. And, you know, this has been a true public nuisance and danger to a lot of people in that area. This is not the Elks. I mean, it is the Elks, it's their organization, but it's who they rent it out to. Those are the people who are causing the issues. But they continue to rent it out, which is therefore causing issues in the community. But I just wanted to say that I know a lot of the Elks elders and this is daughters of the Elks also, but this is just becoming a public nuisance and public safety issue, and it has to stop. And under this order, we'll make sure that it does, and neighbors have to continue to report it. Stan, like you and I would go by, and actually, Stan, you had provided photographs that were part of the actual evidence. Mm-hmm. You know, so we just have to be vigilant on it, and the residents will call, because they called me. I mean, it wasn't just a party, it was over 200 people outside in a parking lot at 2:30 a.m. in the morning. And it was a very dangerous situation that could go. It could have changed just like that. And I do want to compliment our sheriff's department, like Attorney Winters said. Their training, you can tell that it's a trained force, even if they're very, very young. Some of the new, and their eyes were, they were alarmed at what was going on because it was scary. but they handled it very, very well. We got lucky on this one. We got lucky in 2017 when an AK-40, that's what it was. Is that what you call it?
AK-47.
It was just spraying. And they have a video of this. This is not the Elks members that we know.
If I could, before I go, I agree. I know a lot of the men and the women that are members of the Elks. They're very respectful, good community people. Sadly, though, this is just my personal opinion, membership alone cannot generate the revenue to sustain the club anymore. That's why they have the events, to raise money to keep the club going, and it's just not working in its present form.
And it's not economic development or the revitalization of Ecorse Road. I mean, it's bad. Anything else, Attorney? Okay. Under old business, we have the second reading of resolution from 2019-27, proposed ordinance 2019-488, and ordinance amending the Code of Ordinance of the Township of Ypsilanti, Chapter 30, Article 1, entitled Fire Prevention Code, by the adoption of the 2018 edition of the International Fire Prevention Code. The first reading was held at the June 18, 2019 regular meeting. Clerk Rowe.
Township Ypsilanti Board of Trustees recognizes need for modern, up-to-date fire code addressing the conditions hazardous to life and property from fire and explosion hazards, the storage, handling, and use of hazardous substances and materials, and the use and occupancy of buildings and premises. And whereas the International Fire Code 2018 edition is designed to meet these needs through model code regulations that safeguard the public health and safety, and whereas the International Fire Code 2018 edition is fully compatible with the Michigan Building Code, Michigan Residential Code, the Michigan Rehabilitation Code, and International Property Maintenance Code. Whereas the Township Fire Department recommends adoption of Ordinance 2019-48, now therefore be resolved, the Charter Township Ypsilanti Board of Trustees hereby adopts by reference attached ordinance number 2019-488, amending the Code of Ordinance of the Charter Township Ypsilanti, Article 2, Fire Prevention Code. I would so move Resolution 2019-27, Ordinance number 2019-488, the second reading.
Support. Motion Rowe, support Doe. Questions or comments? It's an ordinance. We'll have to do a roll call vote. Gerald Rowe?
Yes.
Eldridge?
Yes.
Ross Williams?
Yes.
Lovejoy Rowe?
Yes.
Stumble votes yes. Doe?
Yes.
And Trustee Wilson stepped out of the room. Motion passes. The next item on the agenda is number 2, the second reading of Resolution 2019-26, which is proposed Ordinance 2019-487, amending the zoning ordinance to add Article 911, a Ecorse Road form-based district, to enact from base zoning and updated uses, and to rezone Ecorse Road to be consistent with Article 11, a zoning ordinance language. 11A, zoning ordinance language. Clerk Rowe?
I have a resolution, whereas the Charter Township Ypsilanti adopted the Ecorse Road East Michigan Avenue placemaking plan in 2018, and whereas changes to the zoning on Ecorse Road are key to the implementation of that plan, and whereas the Township Planning Consultants has recommended amendments to the Charter Township Ypsilanti's Planning Commission to the Township Zoning Code, and whereas at its regularly scheduled April 23, 2019, the Commission recommended approval to the Township Board of the Planning Consultants to propose amendments to the Township Zoning Code to the Township Board and to add Article 11-A, Ecorse Road Form-Based District, to enact form-based zoning and updated uses, and whereas at its regularly scheduled meeting April 23, 2019, the Commission recommended approval to the Township Board of Planning Consultants. Am I reading the same thing twice? I'll just keep reading it. Seems like it's the same thing. But consultants propose amendments to the Ypsilanti Townships. Oh, no, this is a zoning map. I'm so sorry. Zoning map to be consistent with the recommended addition to the Township Zoning Code to the Township Board and to add Article 11-8, Ecorse Road Form-Based District, to enact form-based zoning and updated uses. And whereas the proposed ordinance number 2019-487 has revised the current existing ordinance in such a fashion as to incorporate the above changes recommended. And whereas the Charter Township Ypsilanti Board of Trustees agrees with the request of the Planning Commission, and this section, this whereas, is new since the first reading, whereas Ecorse Road has a high concentration of automobile uses, including 9 automobile repair shops, 4 gas stations, 1 car wash that can meet the needs of the surrounding neighborhoods, and more automobile uses will hinder the development of the pedestrian-friendly, walkable Neighborhood Corridor. And whereas at its regularly scheduled meeting on June 18, 2019, the board amended proposed ordinance number 2019-487 to remove use group 6, automotive uses, including automobile, car wash, and gasoline service station. Therefore, be it resolved, the Charter Township Ypsilanti Board of Trustees does hereby approve ordinance number 2019-4087 as attached by amending the zoning ordinance to include Article 11-A of the Township Zoning Code as noted with the proposed ordinance number 2019-487, which ordinance reflects the suggestions and input of the Township's planning consultant as recommended by the Commission. I would so move second reading with the changes as outlined to Resolution 2019-26 and the second reading of 2019-487 with the changes.
Motion Rowe, support Ross Williams. Discussion? Hearing none, we have to vote on this because it's an ordinance individually. Wilson?
Yes.
Doe?
Yes.
Stumbo votes yes. Lovejoy Rowe?
Yes.
Ross Williams?
Yes.
Eldridge?
Yes.
Gerald Rowe?
Yes.
The second reading is approved and it's adopted. Number 3 was agreed to leave on table. Under new business, we have request to waive the financial policy and sign the purchase agreement with Zane to purchase 2 Spartan fire engines in the amount of $1,025,000 with $525,000 budget in line item 206-970-000-979-000 and the remaining $500,000 to be budgeted in line item 101-970-000-975-206, contingent upon approval of the budget amendment with the understanding we're going to strike the language that waives governmental immunity.
So moved.
Paragraph 8.
Support.
Motion Eldridge, support
Heather, Gerald, or Joe?
Gerald Rowe? I didn't know, I'm sorry.
They both said it.
Discussion?
Yes, Madam Chair. Just wanted to point out, I know we have confirmed that the price per truck is going to be $515. On the memo from Chief Copeland, it does say $525. The amount is correct, but I guess it may be a typo, so I just wanted to point that out.
What typo are you?
It's actually in the memorandum dated July 10th, 2019.
It says 515, is it?
It's in the memorandum. So in this memorandum right here, it says basically fiscal year 2019 at 525. It should be 515. Yep. It's in the memo right here.
Why is it 515?
Isn't it 515 per truck?
No, one truck was 500 and one was 525,
Okay.
right, or not? I don't know. Oh, no, that's the budget. That's reference to the budget
The budgeted
alone.
amount for
It's a budgeted-
2019 is 525,
Okay.
and I believe that we're going to use the fund balance and recoup in 2019 the other 500.
General fund balance.
Yes.
Did that clear that?
Yeah,
What is your question, I guess? I'm sorry.
she thought it was different amounts.
Right, because on the order itself, it says 515. So that was basically, maybe it's a point of clarification. Either way, I think it's been clarified. Thank you.
Yeah, okay. The total delivered price was 515 on the bid proposal, that's your point?
Right. And on the memo, it says 525, but I think it's just been clarified.
Mr. Winters, are you
Well, I
clear?
think the contract is for $1,025,000. That would be like $500 per engine.
Right.
And I believe it reflects the $5,000 reduction from the $1,030,000 that was going to be the price. I think it's just a way of how you account for the. Shivana's sitting there. She may have an accounting mechanism in place, but the total price is $1,025,000.
Correct.
And Madam Chair, that is reflected on the memo, so just wanted to point that out. The total price is reflected on the
Okay,
memo.
so you're comfortable?
Yes, yeah.
If I could, Just one thing that was not maybe discussed during the work session, and Captain Fred Anstead can probably, maybe if he needs to, by having these two new fire stock engines, it should reduce significantly the maintenance costs that we're currently experiencing for the two that are going to be taken out. I know I've seen the budget, and I know that we are spending tens of thousands of dollars each year, especially on the one engine.
More than that.
I mean, tens of thousands. It may be closer to 150 total, 180. I'm not really sure exactly. Giovanni again would know that. But we think that these are going to significantly reduce the ongoing maintenance costs, because I was asking some of the firefighters why the maintenance costs are so high. Fred can answer that, but I know that each month there's a lot of maintenance repairs that are going to probably be reduced by these two new engines. And at the same time, I did try to share with the board in the letter the amount of runs that our fire department makes in comparison to other neighboring fire units. I mean, it's just staggering the number of calls that we are averaging per day. We're twice as much as the city of Ypsi, 4 times as much as Superior, 1.5 times as much as Pittsfield. The number of calls we respond to are exceeded only by the Ann Arbor, and Ann Arbor has personnel total of 85 with 5 fire stations and 6 frontline engines. Our department has 25 personnel, 3 stations, and 3 frontline engines. And so the amount of calls per day which our department is responding to is probably per individual, per firefighter, the highest in Washtenaw County. May not have all the ability to show you on a PowerPoint presentation, but I have seen the numbers, and I don't think that I'm misspeaking when I say that they are responding to more fire calls than probably any fire department in Washtenaw County.
May I respond to that? You put it eloquently, excuse me, Doug, Attorney Winters. The automatic aid agreements that we currently have were based on research on those exact numbers that the attorney was referencing, and to pull those figures up and to kind of parlay that into what we were actually spending and allocating annually for fire protection was a better way of increasing your firefighter safety, as well as presenting a united force over you might say, this region, and addressing the fires issues as they spring up. Excuse me, I had a little congestion in there. And that was part of what I was tasked with when I came here, to kind of figure that out. And I think this system has worked well, and we've actually expanded it. We've done automatic aid with Pittsfield, and we go even into Wayne County with Van Buren. Brenda has asked me about exploring initiatives with Augusta Township, because they're a solely paid-on-call department. We have issues with what they're going to respond back in Ypsilanti Township with, and I just wanted to just inform your board, your performance matrix for your fire department is outstanding. They do an outstanding job. The number of calls that go on, and I don't want to say you're getting it at a discount, but I think in terms of what you allocate for your fire departments, you've got to get a lot of bang for the buck. And you have an excellent fire department, by the way.
Thank you, Chief, and for your leadership as well. Other comments or questions? I do think it's good to buy now because of the tariff issue, going on with the steel. So I think the timing is good because it's a question mark. We don't know. I know a lot of the projects especially at YCUA, was substantially higher if steel was involved. And are these trucks steel or? Okay.
Yeah, the price of steel is directly affecting what the price of the fire trucks are going to be.
Okay.
Especially in the upcoming future. They're 11 to 20% projections going up in the near future. So.
Okay, so I think and I do think this is the purpose of the millage, that the voters so thankfully voted for, is for capital improvements. And Doug, you're right, the maintenance, every week I get tens of thousands of dollars in requests for, I thought y'all were doing it on purpose so we could get some new fire trucks, but then I know that's a joke because you wouldn't do that. And they're all things that are just breaking down on the trucks. So I think, thanks for bringing this forward, and I look forward to seeing the new trucks. We have a motion support. All in favor?
Thank you.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Yay.
I want to ride in one of those new trucks.
Y'all are smiling all of a sudden.
We gladly invite any of you to come down and do a ride along with us anytime.
Thank you.
Ms. Kaiser's my +1, okay?
Number
Thank
2
you.
is a request approval of the non-union job description of operations manager and the changing of Michael Sarinen's position title from hydro operator to operations manager, and that we amend the description that says graduation from a high school or GED.
Support.
Made the motion.
Motion, Gerald Rowe, support Eldridge. Is there discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 3 is a request to approve the agreement with Washtenaw County Road Commission for the installation of speed humps on Kewanee in the amount of $16,962, which is budgeted in line item 101-446-000-818-022, contingent upon the approval of the budget amendment.
Approve.
Motion Rowe, support Eldridge. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Number 4 is a request to approve the proposal with Gorin and Associates for employee training and development in the amount of $14,120, which is budgeted in line item 101-227-000-96000.
Support.
Motion Rowe, support Eldridge. Is there discussion?
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Yeah, I just, my only question or concern was, it seems like a lot for a couple of 4-hour trainings. Definitely it's needed. But were there any other companies looked at for, I guess you won't say quotes, but just were there any other companies looked at as far as pricing, and they specialize in these types of trainings, or kind of what was your process, I guess, Karen?
No, I actually did look at others. And actually, I get things in the mail all the time, and looked at a couple, and the price is not that far off. I contacted Washtenaw County, and I talked to Linda Wicks, who is their training person at the county, and she sent me a list of several places that they have used in the past. Highly recommended this company. They are actually providing training for Washtenaw County now. Supervisor Stumbo actually talked with someone this afternoon. They're focusing more on management level employees right now, but the managers are very happy with the training that they're receiving and feel that it's great training. Linda said she's got nothing but positive response from this company, feedback from the employees on this company. So that's what led me to that. Part of the reason we're having so many sessions and the prices where it's at is that they're not wanting any more than 25 people per session. They're wanting this to be very interactive, and he feels that if you get more than 25, it does not become, it doesn't do its job. So with our employee numbers, in order to get everybody through it, we have to have multiple sessions.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Madam Chair.
Trustee Eldridge?
Sorry, Karen, I was going to ask you these earlier in the work session. One, I'm glad we have the training coming. Now, if we find that somebody takes the training or somebody's employed here, do we have a policy in place on how we're going to deal with that discipline so it doesn't linger like our last issue apparently did?
Yes, we actually, just a few months back, the board actually approved a workplace violence policy that would deal with some of it, but we are working on the policy manual and going to incorporate the training and things that we're doing right now. Yes.
Okay. Second question, do we have to utilize any overtime to pay people to go through it, or is this going to be all done while they're on duty? And they're just going to alternate back and forth, and we'll be a little bit short-handed at times?
That's the goal, so that the amount of times that we're offering the sessions, we're hoping to get everybody staggered through. We can also, with our hourly employees, with our contract, we have now flex hours availability. So I would suggest to supervisors on our afternoon shifts, things like that, to make sure that they get covered. that we flex their hours. We change their shifts around in order so we're not paying overtime.
And sorry for all the questions.
That's okay.
Trustee Wilson made note it's a 4-hour training because I don't see that anywhere in the
Yes,
document.
it's
So it
4
is-
hours.
Okay. Do you know when we're going to start this training, what dates it will be?
I actually have dates on the calendar, hoping that it was going to go through because he was filling up pretty quickly. So I secured some dates, knowing that if I needed to, I could cancel them. But September is the earliest I could get. That's why I wanted to secure.
And that just led into the next question. If we have employees that are already scheduled for vacation during that time, how are we going to get them back in? Or is there somewhere that we can send them to another location or with another entity that's doing the training to get them caught up? Because I think the goal is for everybody to go through mandatorily.
Yes, it would be mandatory for everyone.
So we don't want to cancel vacation, and I'm guessing some people already have time off. So how do we get them through and not pay the overtime to send them somewhere?
Right. The way I have got it scheduled is that there's like a week in between. So I'm hoping that if they're going to be gone a certain week, then they'll be back by the next time the schedule or next time it's here.
Okay. And then the last one, just under statement of issue, can you remind Gorin and Associates we're not a city, we're a township?
Yes, I will.
Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
I'd just like to say thank you for bringing this forward. I always love like employee training. I think that it makes a huge difference in the workplace. And just like for topics moving forward, if you're interested in like other things that I've taken in my workplace that I've really found helpful, or like implicit bias training. And then we're doing this other one that I can't ever remember the acronym for. It stands for non-aggressive physical and physiological intervention, which sounds super fancy, but it's really just how to like de-escalate situations and really get directly to whatever the root issue is. So,
definitely.
You know, I like to chat about those things, Karen. Thank you.
Any other questions? And I would like to just point out that I did go over to Washtenaw County today, and they have equity training as well, and the Washtenaw County is going to do that training for free, and they're going to offer that to municipalities. Mr. Winters, our attorney, has highly recommended that we have training in regards to some of the issues we've had in the past with bullying, and so I, too, am looking forward to actually doing some professional development for all of our employees, and this is the first step towards that, so we're excited, aren't we, Karen?
Yes, we are.
All right, we have a motion and support to approve. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. The next item is to request to approve the agreement with Washtenaw County Road Commission for design and construction of the road improvements to US 12 to be funded by a grant subject to review and revisions by the township attorney.
Support.
Motion Lovejoy Road, support Gerald Road. Is there discussion on this?
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh, Madam Chair. Just wanted to also point out a couple of things. Number one, thank you to Supervisor Stumbo and also State Representative Ronnie Peterson that worked to try and get this $8 million grant in order to address the issues in this area, especially with US 12 as it relates going down to the Canton area. It is very dark, depending on what time of the day that you are driving that area, especially with the new construction that has happened. And so hopefully lighting will be added and improved. But first of all, also, I think secondly, I just want to say that this really sets for an aspect of making sure that safety is first, especially as it relates to not only the US 12 area by ACM, but also basically the US 12 area by where the pedestrians walk across Dorset, even though Dorset itself is not probably is not in the proposal because some parts of Dorset is inside the neighborhood. People do cross US 12 to get to and from Fort Boulevard, and I know some work has been done, and I think other works that can be improved, and this area can be even improved better. The good thing that I do want to say, at least on the record, is that since the improvements have been done on the US 12 area by Dorset, no other person, a pedestrian or biker, has experienced any catastrophic injuries So that says a lot for when you're trying to improve safety and taking safety first. And so I just wanted to make sure I put that on the record.
All right.
Sure, I just again had a couple. As I read through this, one of my questions earlier would have been, what are the improvements that we're looking to make? Because it doesn't specify what we're trying to do as far as improvements, because we just worked on that entire roadway here within the last 2 or 3 years. So are we looking at widening? Exactly what are we looking to get for $8 million? And if they could share that, that would be great.
So we did a preliminary, in order to get this funding, last year we had our engineers do a preliminary estimate. And this was able to get us in the budget process for the $8 million. Ronnie Peterson and the director of MDOT was clear that we had to have a preliminary engineering. And this does include Ecorse Road. It's more than just US 12. And under acknowledgements, it says the planning, funding, design, and construction of improvements to US 12 between I-94 and Wired and M17 Ecorse Road between Ford Boulevard and US 12. That is the project. What we had preliminary estimates for was for street lighting, enhancements to the actual signalization, and Ecorse Road, I call it spaghetti. You know, there's no clear, it's hard to get through the Ecorse Road.
Amen.
And so it included that, but they're going to actually come back and with plans and everything, they're going to meet with all the area, not just West Willow, of course, Ecorse Road, you know, businesses and the residents in that area that use it, and get input. They have 4 preliminary changes, Stan, the road commission has, and they're going to have public hearings, meetings, not hearings, public meetings on it to get all the input. But for sure, street lighting and signage is critical to that area and the changes that were made. And everything will come back, you know, you'll have all the information, invited to attend the meetings.
Okay, and that took care of the second question. The final one then would be, if it exceeds $8 million, is the township wholly responsible for anything over $8 million, and what are the chances we're going to exceed $8 million?
That would be a negative in our opinion, and the 3 full-time officials and Attorney Winters, you know, we caught that immediately, which is why we asked that we approve it contingent upon that. That is one line that has to come out.
Okay, thank you.
Attorney Winters?
Actually, there may be 2 lines out.
Well, there's more, but that line has to come out.
Well, and what I was going to ask the board, because I don't know what kind of negotiating, who I would be speaking to, but in section 2.2.3, it also says that the road commission shall provide documentation of all costs incurred. Any project cost exceeding the direct grant amount of $8 million shall be the responsibility of the township. And WCRC shall invoice the township for any project cost more than $8 million. And I don't know if, is it the desire of the board to try and have me to at least negotiate this agreement so that it was going to read that the improvements that we decide to do cannot exceed $8 million, because I've never seen any construction project yet that didn't have cost overruns.
Right.
And change orders. And if the intent is to truly limit it to $8 million, that might mean that at some point in time, you might have make a choice between, do I do this for 400 or this for 800? Because otherwise, we are giving them kind of
No, we're not, because we're not
check the way it's
approving
written
this.
right now.
And that was my,
We're not approving this agreement in the packet.
Okay, but what, I mean, do you want me to at least try and negotiate so that whatever
It's not over
you
8 million.
sign, that it
Right.
cannot exceed $8 million?
that's what I would ask.
Because I don't know otherwise how else to say it beyond just.
No, that's the intent, and this is, so when MDOT usually manages these projects, but because it was outside the MDOT regular process and the $8 million was secured, I mean, Representative Peterson really delivered on this as promised to the neighborhood after they did the American Center for Mobility. But they wanted us to administer the contract, and I'm not qualified, and I'm not sure of anyone else that is. So they agreed to allow the road commission to administer it. So this is a little bit different than we normally have as a contract, but it was my intention and what I hear from the board is that we do not pay anything over 8 million. The grant is to do the improvements. They might have recommendations and phases, for after the 8 million that we can get more grants for, but it was never intended to go over the $8 million grant. And there's no match, Doug.
I understand. I mean, there's going to have to be some changes to
Oh,
this.
Right, right.
That it says what
Right.
you wanted to say as a board, because right now, a 10% overrun is 800,000, obviously.
Oh, right. Yep.
And that was my concern with anything over 8 million, because there's always contingencies. And I guess I would just ask that we negotiate it so it doesn't exceed 8 million, period.
That we at least have the ability to pick and choose.
Correct.
Right.
Something that's going to go to 8 million one that you might want to do. I don't know, you might want to do it. If you just want to say, can I exceed 8 million? I just want to make sure I got the right direction. That's all.
Or do you feel like you have direction? Better direction?
Better, but still what?
So could we include in the motion that we not go over the $8 million grant?
Yes.
And then that'll
It's
bring
fine.
clarity. Clerk Rowe?
I just wanted to say, because I know at least the things that I've seen, that there's several different ways, proposals and stuff. And I know some of the numbers that we got through DTE, to really light that place up, and I know that was, we said, give us, the top of the line. Some of those came in over $1 million. So I was just wondering if maybe we can think it through and talk more about it later, maybe, that wouldn't it make sense that you ask them to, each portion, that they come back with an agreement with us? I don't know, it's just, I don't know. I don't know, because they're going to bid it out and we don't know, you know what I mean? There's going to be different phases, different projects.
There's a lot of engineering costs in there, too.
Right, so, yeah. So I don't know, yeah.
Madam Chair, in order to make sure that, obviously, it's going to be an agreement that we don't go over $8 million. But in the same aspect, I also agree with Clerk Rowe's point that maybe each part should come back. That way we know for sure how the costs are operating.
Normally, we could do that because we're administering the grant. We are not having, this is $8 million that we received from MDOT. We're not administering anything. We do get input in it. The only thing that we would be responsible for, which would come back to the board, is the street lighting cost. It's not an assessment district, it's on the primary road, so that would come back, and there would absolutely be all kinds of meetings in regards to what they're proposing to do.
So the funding's going straight from MDOT to the road commission?
Correct.
That's a different.
That's a
You're not
different-
going to have any authority over
Correct.
how that's really, other than to say, don't spend 8 million.
Well, and if I would just say that if they're going to administer it and we direct Doug not to exceed 8 million,
Right.
then we're okay. So I would just say not to exceed 8 million.
This is such a blessing. I mean, and I know it sounds, we can't control it as much as perhaps normally we would, but this is the biggest windfall I've ever seen.
Yes.
To come, and it came at the last year, and it got put in this budget in order, and we have to do it. We have to commit the funds this year.
So will this agreement include the lights, or should we have that carved out? Or is that part of their 8 million?
Improvements.
That's going to have the 8 million in there?
The installation of them and the operations would come to the township, just like it always does.
Right.
For any roadside
I'm just saying,
lighting.
as road commission, they'll want to focus on the road, but this agreement's going to say, and lights will be included as planned by DT and the township or something, what we want.
We can add that, but I know that the preliminary engineering costs, that was the focus, was the lighting and the signage and the configuration of E-Course Road. And that was a big part of the cost estimate. Like, we can get engineers, it could be 40 million, and we do phase 1, and then we can apply for grants for phase 2. But these funds need to be used.
Well, I think you're going to use it. I just want to make sure we don't use beyond 8
Where you want to use them, right?
Yep.
I just wanted to say that, thanks for putting this together. I know that Ronnie worked on it, but I also know that, that you were working on it too, Brenda, and that I just can remember, like, as a young, Doug probably remembers it too, we're going to date ourselves, but just going to Westville, and it's always just kind of been, even though it was built for, higher level, management employees at General Motors, it's always been a nightmare to get in and out of there. And the last round with ACM gave us another entrance, and I just think, the idea just to make that whole corridor better, and it's kind of, and it is the entrance, to that eastern side to the township. So I think, and I always think when I drive down, why can't we be like Canton? So the idea that we can dress that up and, have it just, the presentation just be better and better lighting, and definitely since they made those head-on lanes go, because anyways, so I'm excited about it, and you're right, $8 million, it is a windfall, and I'm grateful for our residents.
Yeah, me too. Ms. Kaiser?
May I just say that since the road commission is going to have the authority here, can the board say, let's do the improvements that we need, not add the extra expense of these stupid roundabouts?
Yeah, there's no roundabout in this.
Yeah, well, the road commission, they're into roundabouts, and to me, it's extra money. They say no, and that's not true. That let's just get the basic roads and essentials that we need, that you can do more without the roundabouts.
Right. Okay, thank you. Any other comment? We have a motion and support with the condition that we not exceed the 8 million and the township not be liable for anything over that. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 6, request authorization for township legal counsel, engineers, and departments to assist in gathering the information of the Seaver Farm property as a potential site for YMCA state-of-the-art programming and recreational facility.
Support.
Motion Rowe, support Doe. Questions? Comment?
Madam Chair, there was a question brought up in between sessions in regards to the fact that I serve on the YMCA board, which is a non-paid position. And with that question, I wanted to clarify with the attorney, because if I could even vote on this because the question was raised, and if I can speak on it because the question was raised.
Well,
It was actually trustee Eldridge.
Oh, yeah, Mr. Winters. I could answer it, but Mr.
I do not have a personal.
Normally, if you don't have any financial gain, that's the benchmark in regards to whether or not you have a conflict of interest.
Absolutely.
There is no financial gain. We're not paid for any YMCA board tenure. Okay.
Clerk Rowe.
I just want to say, and I'll try not to make it long, especially since my husband's in the emergency room. I know. This is important, and he would want me to stay. We have been trying, Brent and I have been on the board since 1988, and we have been trying. We were so excited and spent money and time and trying to get one built on the north side. Then as county commissioner and following through on that, just worked several years and trying to get the county, which they finally did agree, and we agreed. We backed off of the North Huron Bay site for the one, and agreed. We don't care where it's at as long as it's within driving distance. And so we agreed and supported the Water Street project. So this has been going on forever, and just, I don't know if you've had a chance, just Google YMCA, say new YMCAs, and you'll bring up the one in Indiana and the one down in Dayton, Ohio, and just the idea of what it could bring and for our community, and to do it. The one that we actually were going to try to do here, the township itself without the county support on the north side of the township, meant that we were going to spend all the dollars on that to build it. We were going to spend all the long-term, all the long-term with retirements and health care for employees that work there. And so the idea that we can, especially, I'm so glad that we Brenda dragged up, looked up, found the old resolution. I knew beyond a shadow of doubt, because we never buy property to make money. That's not what public sector government is about. It's about, what you're doing is all about the people and where we're going to move and is a benefit. And the idea that it was, that actually was in the resolution so that everybody that wasn't here at that time could see that it was a piece of property that was bought for the specific purpose of being a, government property, that we would use it for a park or, communities, or a place that, whatever down the road. And so the idea that we could have this, and that location is just going to spur, I can just see, which I was dreaming about it on the Water Street project, even with some of the retirees, we talked about, oh yeah, if they could build that, and then we could have a senior center built next door to it where you could actually rent an apartment or buy a condo, and you could walk over there, and then there's be more restaurants, and they try to kind of be, the kind of, everybody's talking about the newest and the latest thing is having the place, what's the word, Brenda? Place-making areas that kind of set, and maybe there'll be because they want to do outdoor stuff, and it could be a place maybe with fountains, and I can just visualize it, and been dreaming about it forever. So I am excited about the ability, and I know this is the first step, but it would be so great that before my grandkids graduate and move out of town for college, that they could have a place that I could take them, just like our beautiful state of the library. And I see this a lot, just like our library. We gave property for the library because they built the library. We don't own it. We don't have to operate it. We don't have to fund it. We gave the property, other than through the millage and stuff that they have. This is also like the Marriott and the hotel. We gave the property. There's a 99-year lease. And Ms. Kaiser raised some good points, but I know our attorney, if we get to that point to where we're actually going to give or provide the property to them in exchange for recreation sport, because I don't see it as giving. It's providing, it's exchange of a piece of property for us to be able to provide recreation to our residents from now and into the future. But she did raise a good point, and I know that our attorney will tie that up just like he did with that 99-year lease. You did negotiate that one, didn't you? For the golf course and the Marriott. So we own that property. So anything they want to do down there, they have to come to us. They can't tear down the golf course. They can't do any of those things because we have that. And I have full confidence that Doug Winters and his team will protect the township just like they have for way before I was here. So I'm excited, in case you can't tell. And I know the few people that I've talked about, they're excited because, especially if you've been or lived in a town or visited a town where there's a YMCA, it's not just about a recreation facility, it's a change in your entire community, because their motto is public, private, together. We have commitments from some of the richest people in Washington County that are going to raise $10 to $12 million on that. That's amazing, together with other dollars that we have to raise. But when you hear those people talk about what it did for the communities of Warsaw, Indiana, and what it did for Dayton, Ohio, because they want to go where there's lots of poverty, but there's people who can pay for the annual, and so that they can subsidize, provide services to people who would never ever have it, and at the same time, for people who can afford it, will pay, the freight for that, and to help and provide those services. Daycare, swimming pools, like I said, go to the Dayton site or to Indiana, just Google it, YMCA, and it'll blow your socks off. I am excited, and thank you. I know Monica's been working on it, and Brenda's been working on it, and we've been to some meetings where I actually ended up in tears when people didn't want to support it, but we're moving forward, and I'm excited. Sorry, it went too long.
Madam Chair?
Trustee Elder?
Before I start, just let me make sure I say, so that nobody can imply otherwise, I do support bringing a YMCA or community center to the township. I simply disagree on that site for a multitude of reasons, because I think we have a better site here on this governmental campus that, as Karen noted, we already gave the library grounds. We have a government center here already. This could be the third anchor in that and sit here. It abuts neighborhoods. It could abut our parks on textile and a number of other reasons. But again, I had a number of questions to go over in the work session and we couldn't get to it. So rather than tying us up tonight, because I know the clerk needs to be somewhere, I'll just simply email them to the rest of the board and just see if I can get a response on them. I just want to be clear, I do support it, simply not that location. I think there's a better option, and I understand we're not in the business of being developers. We spent a lot of money on that property trying to develop it. So to say we're not in that business contradicts what our actions have done for the last number of years that we've owned it. We've paid people to market it. We've tried to sell it. We've done a number of things. We've placed infrastructure there. I just don't simply think it's the right place because this property provides all those same options that we would get out there, and we would still have that property to market and do other things with. So just having said that, I'll forward these questions, including a request on why we turned this down several years ago when Commissioner Sizemore asked for it then. I remember the answers clearly, but we turned it down when he came forth before. So he came to our work sessions when we held him in the room behind us and asked us to consider donating that land to the county to build a recreation center. So I'll forward the questions, and with that, I'll be done.
But Stan, these are board meetings. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. You don't have to do an email.
Well,
you want me to go? I mean, we could do it now. And
I just didn't want to tie up the clerk to get out of here for an emergency. Nobody. The first question I would have is, have we even discussed this site? Have we mentioned this site to anybody else? When I talk to residents, they clearly want a recreation center. When you then propose different and multiple sites, just as many pick this site as they do the one on Huron Street. I guess I just don't know. Have we even proposed this? Yes.
Okay. So when I invited the YMCA director to come out to the township, and at that time they were talking about having the YMCA take over the Willow Run School or Shaney School. It was a discussion at the time. So I invited her over here, and I gave her a tour of a lot of our properties. And like I didn't know there were criteria, just like they have site selectors for any of your commercial districts. You have to be on, so many cars, certain radius for income, and they have a whole list of things that are required to cite a full-service YMCA. Now, it's not a homeless shelter. There's no sleeping there like the old ones were. This is a large facility, and they choose the site. We don't choose it. Just like, like a commercial developer. They don't say, hey, we want to bring this to town. Where would you like to put it? They actually choose the site. And then they have to still go through a feasibility study, Stan.
Right.
So this is just a beginning, which provides all the information on the historical documents that we have on the property. So
If I may, the second question would have been then, could we have not had the presentation from the YMCA so we could ask those questions and get those answers before we decided to move forward with a feasibility study? Wouldn't that be the proper role, to bring them in first to make their presentation as to why a YMCA and why that location before we move forward with a feasibility study? Because I don't know the criteria. Maybe the full-time members and Monica being on the board know. I don't know what that criteria is. It would have seemed that we would have put that issue first before we did the feasibility study.
But the feasibility study is not being paid for by Ypsilanti Township. It's being paid for by Washtenaw County Recreation. So they took the presentation there, and it's such, I can't stress enough that this is the beginning. The township board is not going to vote yet in order to transfer any property. It's that this is the site they're interested in, and they have asked for the information on the property. So that's why it went to the Washtenaw County Recreation instead of here.
Okay. And I'm just going to go down the list. I don't know that I wrote them in a good order. I just wrote them as I thought of them. If this is built, irregardless of the location it goes in, is our intent then that we're going to close our recreation center and senior program?
We have a community center. We do not have a full-fledged recreation center, so no, it wasn't be my intent.
The intent would not be to close the community center.
The intent of this board member, that would be a board decision, would not to close the community center.
Nor the senior program.
Nor the senior program, which is part of the community center.
I'm guessing
But that's a board decision.
I'm guessing if they're paying for the building and everything, they're going to have all of the input on the structure and what it'll look like and the size, and all that. All the aesthetics will be there. We won't have any input on that.
That's not accurate. They have,
No, that's why I'm asking, will we have input on it?
yes. And there's public meetings on it and input, and they have to adhere to our ordinances, like
Would a price break for residents of the township be a part of the deal?
my understanding of how the YCUA works is that they have, based on income, they can do a sliding scale, thank God. And then they have, regular membership costs, which all that comes out in the feasibility study in the present.
Okay, all right. Well, I'm guessing a lot of these I can ask her when she shows up. Yeah, again, that's all I have for now. When she shows up, I'll ask her, but again, I'm not opposed to it. I just don't agree with the location.
Okay.
Chair. You said, or were you first, Monica? Were you first?
No.
Oh, okay, sorry. I just wanted to say that I am excited about the idea of having a YMCA here in our community. Every time we do any study about our community, we always hear like we need something to help attract younger families and that population and recreation needs. And while we do have a community center that we love, and I personally would hope to keep, especially for our senior programs, but the youth development is not the same and the recreation is not the same. And I love mission statements for places. I don't know if you guys know that about me also, but I do. And if you just look up the YMCA's mission statements and their values, youth development, healthy living, and social responsibility, and being accountable to your community members and your neighborhoods, while also trying to promote the health and wellness of all of your residents to decrease chronic health concerns, which I know, like if you even think about one of our residents, Joanne McCollum, was talking about the calls for service with our ambulance and our fire trucks, and a lot of them are health related. Well, then if you think about how like something like the YMCA could really help our community to be healthier and live healthier, and then how that would even decrease the calls for service from our fire department and our police officers. So if you think about it in like a holistic way, and like I'm a nurse, so like that's just how my brain works, like they're all connected and very positive assets to our community. So I'm excited about the idea. And thank you, Monica, Ross Williams, and all the full-time elected officials for working on it, and you as well, Doug. Thanks.
Thank you, Trustee Ross.
Thank you. So back when I used to sit on the Purse Commission, it was even in the previous 5-year study that not a Y, but a recreation center. I know for a fact that the Rillo Run High School site was in the discussions. Unfortunately, it's not available. There is a lease, 30-year lease on that. Next would be the middle school. The middle school basically has a lease now too. It is with a religious institution, plus the HAVC is connected into both buildings, and that basically is a very expensive cost from what I have heard. Residents across this community have said since 2011, since I've been elected on any board, that they want to see some form of recreation in this township. Also, I don't want to speak for Trustee Wilson, he can speak for himself, but I also know that basically I was one of the things that he was advocating for. So I wanted to put that on the record. Recreation is different from a community center. The community center right now, it has served a great need, and it will continue to, for our seniors and for other aspects, including our golf program, which is also a necessary form of community build and engagement. And maybe it's a possibility that could even be expanded inside of the community center. We don't know, but either way, I can go on the record real strongly and say that I have no plans on reducing or eliminating the community center. My kids basically use that community center from the time that they were 6 and 7. I can count the number of programs that actually used to be at the community center, whether that was T-ball, whether that was competitive flag football, whether that was a robust dance program, whether that was the Little League that used to actually, former Little League that used to actually run out of the community center, and whether that was a summer camp, which provided a lot of daycare in the summer for parents. Since the economic crisis that happened, those things have been cut. And you know what? We have less residents basically to provide the necessary resources in order to add those programs back. We looked at the budget, and since I've been on this board, and the budget itself has said that the recreation center was losing revenue. And I know for a fact that improvements have been made, and I want to thank our recreation director, Angie Vergas, for doing those improvements that were asked for. But it's time, and I'm just going to go straight here, it is time for us to do our due diligence, to give what our residents have asked for years. And if the ask is a piece of land, which I understand is 28 acres, in order for our residents to not have to pay any additional taxes, to not have to operate the center, to not have to manage this recreation center that's going to provide so much for this community, for me, I have to go with what I know people have asked for a long time. So that's my comment for the record.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, I have one other comment, but
Trustee
I don't remember wanted to go first.
No, you might forget it. Go ahead.
Okay. Just because we're on the topic of recreation, and I mentioned this to a couple of members after the last board meeting, whenever we go out of town, we always like to check out other townships and their recreation stuff. And I actually love Stan's idea of using this land for something, and Blair Township, which is near Interlochen, Michigan, where we just were, has a splash pad, a pavilion, some ball fields, and a disc golf course, all right next to their township building. So, I think it's a great idea to put out there, and I'm going to send you all the link to check it out because it's really great. The water was freezing, way too cold. But, I still think that it's a great idea, and, just if the YMCA doesn't want to choose this site, that doesn't mean that we can't, think about other creative ways to utilize it for the purpose of recreation in the future. Thank you.
Any other board member?
Madam Chair, I just want to say, looking at the memo, first, thank you, Trustee Ross Williams, for those comments. And I don't have to really say much as far as, I'm definitely in favor of the YMCA coming. We need a recreational facility on the eastern part of Washtenaw County. I think there's a bigger picture here other than Ypsilanti Township. We definitely always going to look for how we can help our residents first, but this is a bigger project here that we're talking that's going to help other municipalities as well, because east of 23, there is no real recreational facility. This is going to have a lot of spinoffs. This is going to really help that whole corridor to expand faster than we may even want it to, or may have thought it would, I should say. There's going to be a lot of development. I think that folks are going to want to really come to this township to do business and to live here. My question is, though, looking at the memo, cash contribution, $30,000, in-kind services. My question was, what are the in-kind services that they're offering? What is included in the feasibility study?
And that's the county recreation commitment of $30,000 cash and professional services. I don't know if it's architect, engineers.
Okay.
That was between the YMCA and the Washtenaw County Recreation. They asked for 75 cash, and it was finally authorized for 30,000, and then for 45,000 in kind. So right. I'm not exactly sure what that means. It's just in order to get the feasibility study moved.
All right.
If it was our contract or our contribution, I could answer it, but.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I'm sorry, I could try to find out, but I don't know.
That's all right.
It's
I
not
think
our,
it's good that they're actually coming out their pockets, so I'm happy with that.
yeah, and I would just like to say, I understand the concern, about the property, but to go back and read the resolution that Attorney Winters actually did in 2003, this 163 acres was going to be developed as a mobile home park. And there was over 2,000 mobile homes that were slated to be on this property. They asked for a rezoning, and the Planning Commission said no, and so did the Township Board. And then they filed suit to actually force this rezoning. And we went up to the Michigan Supreme Court. Is that correct, Mr. Winter? Yeah. So after we prevailed in the Michigan Supreme Court, then the owner of the property approached Mr. Winters, well, it was Tom Manchester, it was his client, who's a township resident, and said, would the township be interested in purchasing this property? It was probably one of the biggest decisions I ever made in 2003, and other board members, because we did pay a lot of money for it. Immediately, we sold 30-some acres to Bozo and recouped $1.5 million. We sold it immediately, like within 3 weeks or something. And so we knew that going into it, so which made me feel a little bit more comfortable as a board member. But it still was a big decision. It was a big decision for the taxpayers. I couldn't agree with you more. But this decision is also a big decision for the taxpayers, because we tried to get a rec center approved. We put it on the ballot. We asked our community to support it, and they overwhelmingly said, absolutely not. We don't want you to build one. We don't want you to operate one. And I knew after that vote that there was no way we're going to have one. And this came about because Water Street did not get built. And then the YMCA is interested in lifting up communities east of 23. And the way to do that, like Heather expressed, is just recreation. It's not just recreation. There's a lot for the youth. There's daycares there. There's preschool. There's a lot of different senior program. It's more than just, a rec center where you yeah, and it's much more than that. And we're in the very beginning stages, but I have, after serving 31 years, you think, what can we do to make a difference? You want to leave the community better than when you came. This will do that. This will absolutely leave Ypsilanti Township better than when this board was elected. I'm a recreation major. Probably a lot of people didn't know that, but I know what it does. But what this does is different. There's no obligation to our taxpayers for operation. That has to be the agreement, just like the library. This site is centered to the township. It will accommodate large amount of traffic. Huron River Drive will not accommodate a large amount of traffic, Stan. It just won't. And we have trouble here now. I wish it was widened and we had a turn lane. But this is one of the greatest things that's happened in Ypsilanti Township. If it happens. This is just the beginning. This allows us to provide the information to the YMCA to help them do a feasibility study on this site. And we fought to get where we're at now. The Washtenaw County Parks and Recreation Department has decided they don't want to build a $10 to $12 million facility on eastern Washtenaw County, even though they committed to do it at the Water Street. So I've heard rumors of $3 million, but we need more. Everyone needs to be a partner, and the YMCA, the new approach for these type of facilities, requires local, county, and private dollars. It's just it's a new model, and she will be doing that presentation. But in order to move this forward, we had to take this action to make sure that we send the right message to the board, to, you know, the YMCA and the Washtenaw County Recreation, that the board supports a YMCA at this location. We support a feasibility study, and we support the possibility of transferring our land to them like we did for the library. So one of the issues also that people like to bring up is to make sure we have access, because there's no walkability. That is planned for 2020 or 2021 to have a walkway over 94, which we've been asking for 20 years. They also have a proposal that's going to be brought back for a sidewalk or a walkway to go all the way down to Huron River Drive, because, you know, we have a gap there. We're applying for a grant for that, which will come back to this board. So everything is kind of teed up. It's a perfect, I don't want to say storm, but it's a perfect situation to make this happen if it's the will of the board to do it. And this is just a first step, just the preliminary baby step in order to provide the information. Mike, did you have
I usually don't speak on things like this, so excuse me if I'm swerving way out of my lane. But from one of my comfortable wheelhouses, I've seen 38 years of year after year, generation after generation of youth crime in Ypsilanti Township, over and over. And I heard it, Stan, I know you heard it, the cops that are working today have heard it. One of the primary root causes is boredom, nothing to do. There is no high-quality recreation center in this area for these kids. And if it was somewhere else but nearby, their parents, a lot of the parents probably couldn't afford it, and the kids couldn't get there because they just don't have the transportation. So this type of facility run by an organization like the YMCA, in my opinion, with sliding scale memberships based on income, and perhaps partnering with AATA to provide transportation as part of that ticket to the rec center, would be one of the greatest gifts that you could leave this community for generations to come. That's my 2 cents.
Thank you, Mike.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I just need to say again, we're all talking about the same thing about how great a recreation center is. I haven't heard anyone, including me, say it's a bad thing. So I just, again, want to emphasize, I agree with it. I just disagree on the location. Supervisor talks about the roads won't hold it, but yet in the same breath, we talk about public transportation will be the avenue for so many to get here. That will alleviate some of the traffic concerns. But again, before I get done, I just want to make sure everybody understands. I'm not against the community center, recreation center. I agree with it. We need to have it. It'd be a tremendous thing to have for many reasons. As Mike said, we dealt with those young people throughout our whole career. So to imply otherwise would be wrong. We just have an honest disagreement over the site. That's all.
Madam Chair, if it's okay, and I'm going to put the site aside because we'll vote on that. I was actually at the meeting where Supervisor Stumbo talked about how difficult it was in order to obtain the $30,000 for the feasibility study. I went to the Board of Commissioners meeting in order to talk about some of the comments that was made by certain commissioners in that meeting. It's on the record. You can look it up. One of the things that I will say that was said that cut me to the core is basically that poor children only want recreation in schools. There's poor children that need recreation in a recreation center. There's poor children that need daycare. There's poor children that need to learn how to swim. And it's not about poor, it's about doing the right thing for a community. And it disturbed me that I saw people run out of that meeting crying because their feelings were completely hurt. I had to sit there and listened to that. And the reason why I did is because I knew it was important for me to get each and every last one of those derogatory comments in my head and on the record. Because just as Trustee Wilson has said, Eastern Washtenaw County deserves this. And that is my comment.
Thank you. So we have, Ms. Kaiser, did you want to?
Some of what I've heard tonight is that this board wants to make a name for themselves. And talking about poor children, kids want stuff to do, yes, but there are things out there and people willing to help them. But a lot of these kids don't want to do stuff. They want to stay inside, watch television. There are things for them to do. We have the Little League at, by the trailer park on Ford Boulevard. Yeah, in Harris, yes. There are lots of things to do. So basically you're saying it's not going to cost us anything. But don't we pay taxes for AATA? The golf course, when the new gentleman came, they raised prices there. Okay, you mentioned tonight that there's other dollars we have to raise. How much do we have to pay? And basically, where does that money come from? My tax dollars. So basically, I believe you're like a bunch of children, you've got blinders on. You don't want to see what it's going to cost us. And the departments they're going to assist, how many departments is that? How much time are they going to spend? And we're paying for them, and yet they're already telling us that all the departments in the township are very, very busy. You know, it amounts to me as money. And it's the old folks that are going to pay for it when we're gone. I don't care what you do. But that property is $4 million, and that yet you keep telling me that it's not going to cost us anything, but yet the departments are going to help. There's other money that you have to raise.
We're just gathering files. That's what
I'm sorry?
We're gathering files. That's all we're doing, is to give them the files that we have.
It doesn't take them time to gather that, which you pay for, which I pay for.
Well, we gather files every day, Ms. Kaiser.
I know, but that takes them away from the other work that they have to do. I think you just want to make a name for yourself and say, oh, look what we're doing.
Please don't make personal attacks. Thank you. Yes?
Hi, my name is Giovanna Neal. I live at 6235 Cherrywood Drive. I usually don't ever say anything. I just want to thank you. I think this is well needed. I moved here in '91, and there wasn't a pool for my kids to swim in. I had to go to Washtenaw Rec Center. It's far away, so I load my kids up and go there. There was no place around here for me to take my children to swim. So, you know, I do appreciate you having this YMCA now. And I do want to share a story. When I was younger, when I was 6, we didn't have a lot of money. And I did earn a scholarship from the YMCA for one summer. And I still remember that. That was a big impression. I thought I was the richest person in the world. I learned to twirl a baton. I can still do it. Right. But it meant a lot to me. And I had a great summer in my 6th grade year back in the early or the late 60s. So it's been a long time, but thank you so much for all of your work. I just want to say that.
Thank you for your comment. Mr. Winters?
Yeah, I was just going to say this, not because the board will vote on any issue, but just from a historical perspective, back in the early mid-'80s, we had the armory, the old armory over here on the corridor, and there was a vision to try to figure out how we could jumpstart this corridor, and from that led to a partnership that probably would be difficult if not impossible to ever do today, because it involved the city of Ypsilanti, Eastern Michigan, the State House of Representatives. Gary Owen was Speaker of the House. Congressman Bill Ford was in Congress at the time. Ypsilanti Township, to try and see how we were going to shape the vision of this corridor that was basically undeveloped at that time. And from that, you now have the anchor, which I think is the anchor, with the Marriott Hotel and the EMU golf course. And we've kind of watched how that has been inextricably linked together in terms of when you're standing over there at Eagle Crest and you look out and see the Ford Lake, and you almost think you're standing somewhere in the UP. When people come over here for events, they are taken aback at just how beautiful the golf course is. I'm probably the only attorney in Washington County that doesn't golf, but I have a partner that makes up for about 5 attorneys, so he makes up for me. So the point is right now is that anything that great that later on you look back upon, it requires a vision, it requires some degree of the unknown, because you are kind of going into areas that you haven't gone before. But today, I don't know how you could imagine this corridor being the corridor that it is without the EMU the Township Golf Course, 99 years lease. And you're right, I've lived through 1/3 of that lease being actually committed. But there's still 66 years to go. I'm not sure I'll be around for the end of it. But there is that golf course, the Marriott Hotel, which continues to try and figure out ways to invest in that corridor. Now, if you fast forward another 10, 15 years, you have the library. And at the time, there was a lot of push for that library to go to other locations. In fact, it was going to go possibly to the city of Ypsi and other parts of the county where it would not. Again, it's hard to imagine having that corridor today without that library being present and seeing how much it's used. And from where we started with having a bookmobile that serviced the needs of the township and the library downtown, and just seeing how that did create a lot of jobs for people. It did create a lot of activity. And again, the synergy continues to build. And then you look at and Brenda, I know, mentioned about the lawsuit. That was probably the scariest threat to the corridor, only because we knew that if that occurred, and we've had mobile home parks, we have areas where they should be located. If we had put 2,000 mobile home parks into that area right now, even talking with the Marriott today, we don't think there would be a Marriott today. And the impact that would have had on our resources from police and fire on properties that don't really pay the taxes that really should be paid to support those services would have been overwhelming to the township. And so, again, it was not only a gamble, but it was something that was forced upon us to really fight that fight. And when I say fight the fight, the people that were behind that acquisition had probably the most powerful law firm, and it still is, in the state of Michigan in terms of Dykema. They had the best land use attorney in the state, according to him, he was. And they also had deep pockets. Their pockets were much deeper, believe you me, than the townships. And it went back to a team effort of all the planning consultants, all the legal people, to fight this fight, and it was not an easy fight to prevail. So when it led up to the opportunity to buy the property for $4 million, you're looking at 160 acres at the time. It was one of those kinds of things where if we don't get this property, we're not going to control our destiny. Whatever our destiny is, someone's got to be in control of it. And up to that point in time, we had good partnerships with EMU, with the golf course, and with the Marriott Hotel. We had good partnerships with the library. We were having good development coming along the corridor before the implosion. At the same time, we also had a vision in 83 or 93 that we were going to acquire this property. I think I said 90. It's actually 2003. And so at this point in time, the cell tower money that the board accepted through negotiations has been used wisely to pay off all the bonds on this property. You're in a pretty good position to dictate what type of development you want, be it the YMCA or be it anything else that may fit into that plan. I just want to take a moment to say right now, this corridor has always been considered to be the gateway into the community off of I-94, and you can go left and you can go right. And right now, I think right now that you're at that pivotal moment, again, in terms of your history as to, is it going to be one that's going to be not so much a name for anybody, or just simply a question as to what impact you're going to have. There is issues of, I know, I look around at some of the people I go to school with, health issues, they're continuing to decline. I do think right now that we don't probably emphasize that education wisely for as we should. And recreation, I was a big recreation growing up in high school, but today I don't know what you do. That's why I'm so glad to see Eastern Washtenaw County make its first foray into that skate park over there, because that's going to be a huge impact. And it's going to bring other people into Ypsilanti Township that otherwise would never. I've heard some clients tell me they're going to bring their kids from Milan and Dexter over here because they can't wait to use the skate park. So I'm just mentioning that to you because, not because, I have, any reason to say anything, but just from being here for so long, you do see a big picture here of what has happened over the years. And it's going to be a challenge even for YMCA probably to get the right feasibility studies. This resolution back in 2003, we had to do so much work to get the wetlands, to get the environmental consultants, engineers. I walked the property out there, Tom Manchester, unfortunately during opening day of deer season. Not a smart move because I was wearing something that I think I was a target because of my hair and everything. I could have been mistaken for a deer, and so we got out of there pretty quickly once the shots started ringing. But there's been a lot of people before us that have had this vision of how to use this property wisely. The board can use its own discernment as to whether or not this is the best use. But whatever decision you're going to make, just keep in mind some of the ones I've talked about before, because they don't come easy. They really don't. And if you're going to go into it, you'll have to have partners. And Trustee Wilson mentioned you'll need Superior Township. You'll need the City of Ypsilanti. You'll need Augusta Township. You'll need all of the east side of the county to really come together and do what's best for your constituents as well as for the big picture. So I'll leave it at that.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Wooten. So we have a motion and support to approve it. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 7 is a request to set a public hearing for the creation of a streetlight special assessment district for Majestic Ponds.
So moved.
Support. There's a motion and support to set it. I am not comfortable, professionally, I'm not comfortable with setting a public hearing. We don't know who's requesting it. There's no letters in here. I don't know if it's the property owner, if it's 51%. It's very similar to what we kind of just went through.
Motion to table?
Motion, Eldridge, support, Gerald Rowe. Roll call, Gerald Rowe. To table?
Until when? Say when.
Our next meeting in August?
Okay.
Yes.
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 Stumble.
Yes.
Stowe.
Yes.
Yes.
Wilson votes yes. This item is tabled. For the record, Clerk Rowe had to leave for an emergency. Number 8 is budget amendment number 12.
So moved.
Support.
We have a motion and support to approve budget amendment number 12, and it is to increase the general fund by $557,154 to $10,703,515. Did I read? $10,703,515, and approve the department line item changes as outlined. So we had a motion by Eldridge, is that correct? Gerald Rowe, support by Eldridge. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Other business or board comments? I'm just going to say that if I could.
Do we need to formalize the 50 plus 1, or is that understood that we want to use 50% plus 1 for all assessments moving forward?
We can bring that back if you want, but that's my understanding of how we're going to proceed. I agree.
I just, one clarification, because I think it should, I mean, I know that Angie was saying earlier, the statute for the cameras and the streetlights are different, but it still comes back to the principle of like, are we making sure that the majority of residents want it? So to me, I would be more comfortable if we did all of them.
That's what I heard,
Okay.
yeah. And
I just wanted to clarify that we were grouping those together.
And I was going to go to see if we had a separate process for cameras, because that was so new.
Yeah.
But I can't recall. I know the board adopted a policy on how the access to the camera is going to occur, but I don't know if we adopted a policy on how we create this special assessment district. So if we have that, we can repeal that process as well.
Just a point of clarification. So is this coming back to the board for a vote, or are we just making a motion and approving it right now?
We're going to proceed with 51% is what the board said to do. And if we have to repeal the cameras, then I'll bring that back to the board because we'll have to repeal that policy.
Okay. Well, I just want, yeah, if that's the case, okay, I understand. Just wanted to make sure that, if residents, and I made this earlier in working sessions, need, assistance of the township in regards to get to the 51%, in regards to residents that may need information about rental properties, that the township would be willing to assist, which I'm sure we will.
Yeah, that's a good point. All right. Any other comments from board members or? All right, motion to adjourn would be in order.
So moved. Support.
Motion Doe, support Wilson, all in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you.